Good afternoon. Good morning. Hello. Let's go. Starting here in just a moment. Trading prop that lets you trade Mag 7. The trade pool. Those are, you can trade stocks on that prop firm. It's not easy though. It's pretty difficult. Their rules and everything. And you have to use their platform. However, I think single stock futures coming though again. They're going to try another attempt of that. So you might be able to, you might have a lot of these prop firms start to open up those products for the Mag 7. Thought that was happening this like summer or something like that. I have to look again. And we're getting the PDT rule, right? Going bye-bye. I guess all brokers are going to handle it how they handle it, but that's happening soon. I'll get more info on that. I've been quietly working on a little fun thing for that. Got some tests to do when it comes out. Oh, coffee. Okay. I'll just turn the music off. My ears hurt. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newsroom. Can you see me now? Exotic just subscribed. What's up, Exotic? Were you not a subscriber? Been around forever. Oh, welcome to my office. I know. You know, I live on the top of a skyscraper. It's a beautiful office. Good morning, Smelly. What's up, man? What's up, Trigger? Wolf Banter, Chris. Good morning. So far, a bunch of nothing going on in these markets. Started off with a big pop-up, and then we had a nice little reversal there. So we're going to hop in. I have NQ up on my screen on the left-hand side. For those that don't know, I've been trading some futures, nothing high stress. I've been just using some prop firms to kind of just get some money out of. And then my main swing trading, I've been taking it very easy. One of my main brokerage accounts, I had just an insane month, and I was just like, I'm taking a break. So I withdrew 100% of everything from that account. And then I just focused on my United States Investing Championship account, which haven't really been trading too much. So we're going to go through some stocks today, some stuff that I have on, some names, and then we'll go through some other regular names. And if anything opens up here on the futures, I'll try to execute a couple more trades. These prop firms, man, I got to do something about these prop firms, make a little video and kind of educate some more on it. Because it is they're a great tool to be able to get funds from. I mean, it's the problem is like only like 1% of people get paid because it's that hard. But if you can follow the rules and just, I mean, the hardest part about it is overcoming your own internal problems, right? Like trying to like force the trade or whatever. So it really is a mental thing. And if I kind of walk through kind of my thought process, it's insane. Like it really actually is insane. I think it's around $23,000 in payouts. Again, this is despite my whole backyard being built by a prop firm. $23,000 in payouts between just this last month and just this last week. So about a month. Pretty wild stuff. And the amount of funds that went in there to buy these prop firms is nothing comparatively to what I did, right? So like Lucid Trading is one that I'm currently doing, which is a cool firm. I like at least so far from comparatively, I don't know anything about the company, I'm not affiliated with them or anything. Actually, the only affiliate that I had was Tradeify when I made that video, uh, just to make a few cups of coffee for people using my code. And I started with their direct account. It was like $2,500 total. I bought 5 accounts, right? So I just went direct 5. I didn't even do the evals, so you don't need to pay that kind of money for that. You can go the cheaper route and just do the test. But I went on a crazy streak, and that was during the time where the market was right. All this volatility here. Wait, was it right there? Yeah, it was right. It's through here. Right. It was all through here. That was the whole tariff debacle. We were in negative gamma. So my tick strategy worked just incredibly well. It's not that it worked incredibly well here versus anywhere. It's just we got way more opportunities with it in negative gamma. And obviously, like, look at now. We have a tick right here. It tells you kind of just up and down ticks in the market. I'm not going to dive too much into that. I have a separate video on it. But you play the extreme readings, and you can see we haven't had any extreme readings today. We haven't had extreme readings, I feel like, for a while. And that's because we've been in positive gamma. Right? When you're in positive gamma, let me save this. When you're in positive gamma, meaning that you're above this gamma flip line over here, this is the SPX, the volatility is suppressed. Right? Dealers look to buy the dip, they sell the rip, and so forth. And when you're below the gamma flip line, volatility increases. As we've seen many times. Notice here on the VIX, all these gray boxes are when we're in negative gamma. What do you see VIX doing? You see it go up. So that creates a lot more opportunities for like the fade trades. So lately all I've been doing is just playing trend. And if we get the occasional fade, I take that too. So I tried the Lucid Pro accounts for the first time. I bought 5 of those, and I did just the 25K. I did the lowest amount, and I passed those evals, and they immediately set up my funded account, which was like, I've never seen anybody do that. Like, usually I have to wait overnight or whatever, which is pretty cool. Follow the rules, and bam, qualified for a quick $5,000 payout. And I paid what? $500 for those accounts? Not even. So I had $500 and it converted into, well, I guess 4,500 because they do 90-10 split or whatever. And I'm still trading those accounts, so it could turn into more, or I might blow them up. Who knows? What's up? No. You don't need to be under the gamma flip line for the tick strategy to work. It's just you get more occurrences when you are in negative gamma because the volatility is increased. All right, so right now I'm looking at NQ. NQ is right there at the top of the just opening range and right at daily VWAP. Legitimately, nothing going on right now for NQ, okay? However, there are various markets moving. I was looking at my P&L today, and I saw it up, and I was like, ooh, what's going on here? And it looked like Duolingo is finally making some sort of a move. Well, now it's actually backed off. Good thing I sold a little bit. But Duolingo was up about 4 or 5%, and that was coming right into this prior resistance, and it kind of keeps on getting hung up there. It just got hung up there once again today. I'm going to put on an anchor VWAP just to see kind of where that's at. Settings. It's right at year-to-date VWAP. So I took off a little bit off the table. I still have my Duolingo position, but what I like about this is I was thinking that we can potentially see some sort of rotation back into various software names. And we've been seeing that, right? Adobe had a good day the other day, right? Bam. Microsoft which was in the trade ideas for those that are in the Discord. Microsoft, bam, right? We saw a nice move there. Coming out of just holding the year-to-date volume weighted average price in these last 3 trading sessions. I mean, this thing went up 13%. Pretty incredible. Give me a second here. Just watching this. Okay. Yeah, like I was saying, Adobe, which is another software name. I'll just use IGV, right? IGV, software ETF. Seeing some big moves there. We made a video a while ago about kind of like the bottom stocks or like bottom fishing stocks, and a lot of software names were on there. We're looking at these kind of like double bottoms and bullish divergences. So you're seeing a lot of these start to play through now. People chase them up, but this is pulling into pretty much a new year to date like high, or well, I mean, it's flat on the year, but from being down, 30% to being break even is a pretty big move. I am noticing also another some of these which I'm getting kind of interested in is these quantum names. So QBTS, these are very volatile, but take a look here. You're seeing the strong volume here right on the way up, and it's kind of holding where those year-to-date highs are right here. We're kind of getting hung up, and it's just consolidating. So QBTS is one of them. QUBT, right? Also holding that year-to-date volume weighted average price, and then just consolidating here with some decent volume. So are we starting to see these kind of perk back up again? Could be worth looking into. IonQ, I don't remember what this looked like. IonQ is straight up. I'm not going to be chasing it. I want consolidations. Rigetti Computing, which is also consolidating here. All these names, they got completely destroyed, but you got to pay attention to them if they start setting back up again. So you get this volume move up, and you get, I like to see 7 to 10 days of consolidation, flag out. Could be worth taking a look into. I have a position in NVIDIA. Oh, wow. Hell yeah. NVIDIA was a little bit scarier of a position to take. I think I talked about this one on Trade Ideas, but I also mentioned it, I think, on the market brief, saying that there could be an opportunity here. Like, semiconductors are very strong. And then you see the big dog being left out in the dust. Perhaps when you take a break on some of the other names, you get rotations back into NVIDIA. And if you get a rotation back into NVIDIA, I mean, this is a $5 trillion name. It's going to really help the market out. And we're seeing that rotation take place in today in NVIDIA. It's up 5%. So if I actually dive in over here and we look at its expected move, it's actually at the weekly expected move right now. So it came into the IVOL level, so we probably got an alert already on that. And then the expected move for the week is just up a little bit slightly higher. So your market today is probably NVIDIA. Let's take a look here, actually. Your market today is NVIDIA and Microsoft. I guess a little bit of Broadcom in here, up 2%. This one's starting to kind of peel up here to the daily implied move, but the big move here is most definitely NVIDIA. You have Meta down 3.6%. This is actually coming into its weekly implied move as we speak right now. Meta is. These levels are plotted, by the way. If you want these levels in the Discord, you can plot these utilizing the bot there. That's actually not a bad, this is not a bad look. You get some big strength here in the overall market, and you're getting these already at their lower weekly implied moves. So the reason why I say that is because if NVIDIA stays strong and we just see bounces from here back up to like daily VWAP, NQ is probably going up, right, from where it's at. So when I look at NQ right now, it's above its opening range. So typically you want to be more focused to the upside. As far as SPX goes, we got some gamma exposure levels up here at 7,600, 7,590. Looks like so we have NVIDIA right there up at the upper, right? Tesla is coming down towards its lower weekly implied move. Meta came into its lower. It's right there. Broadcom pretty much unchanged. Amazon towards its lower. Google's taking a little bit of a breather. I would put Google on the radar too. Maybe not for today, but I would keep Google on the radar because it's been so strong, right? And now it's taking a little bit of a breather, right? Does this mean that the market's, is it over and done with? No, absolutely not. It's just coming in a little bit. So, if you miss these big moves and you're looking for, areas that make sense to buy the dip, outside of the weekly expected moves or at the weekly expected moves is a great area to start. And then if it goes down another weekly expected move, you can add into it and scale at like precision points, or more precise points because it's what the market prices in. Excuse me. Yeah, so everything I'm looking at right now seems like it'd be, despite a news tape bomb hitting, Google's kind of perking up here above the daily VWAP. I I said, Nvidia is holding the market right now. This is interesting. So it's bumping its head on the weekly expected move, right? So it's coming in. Let's see if we're seeing any rotations. Let's go back over to Meta. This one came down. It's like literally just rotate out, rotate in. Rotate out, rotate in. So this one's just, it didn't quite tag it yet, but it definitely looks like it's right about there. And then Tesla's still off. It's outside of its daily implied move. So Tesla looks like it can pull in a little bit further here, maybe another $5. Tesla was a good setup too, right at this little pullback over here. Not too shabby. Okay. Some other names that have been doing good. NBIS. This thing was set up like insane. I missed it, but we had a just nice little consolidation here, and this one blasted off today. I believe that was on the tight list. And you know, if you miss these moves, here's a little secret. If you miss these moves, if they pop up high, you go into like, and you want to trade it intraday, you want to trade the strength, you pull it up and you look at the daily VWAP and you look for the first tag of it, or even like reversal through it. Like you can play, you know, by the U-turn where it kind of goes under daily VWAP, comes back up. Then you have an idea for risk, but it opens up opportunities even if it, you know, even if you're late to the party. So for example, right here, you know, this would be up 6% on a move like that. So that's just a little tidbit, especially like on things that are doing earnings. You can apply the VWAP in the morning and then look for the first tag. So for example, CoreWeave, right? Same thing. You had this little U-turn over here. You could have just, you know, bought the pull over there, or, you know, if you were late and you wanted to do it again, it's right there. And you could have put a, you know, entered more over here with a stop down here and a nice move. Twilio also, this one's popping up very, very nicely. This one's pure strength to the upside. I wouldn't be chasing this one right now. No pullback. But this one is coming out of a nice consolidation pullback. So look at Twilio. This was also on the tight list. All right. Nice little consolidation. The bulk of these, by the way, were actually all on the tight list. So I'm actually going through my tight list. Nice pop through today. We already talked about NVIDIA, DOCN. This one's kind of just going sideways, up decently for the day. VIST. You get these 6-7 days of consolidation to the side, you know, downside, right? Boom, nice little pop right back up here. Still early there. Tygo, Hinge. This one is just like a textbook consolidation, but this one had earnings and it was a nice tight consolidation. We're getting some follow through there. I don't know what that company is though. AKAM, also another good one. These are the type of moves that I really like to see. You see these earnings, earnings come out, you get a nice pop up, strong. I'll show you an example of that. So OKTA, I haven't pulled that stock up, but if I pull up OKTA, I'm assuming that there's either an inside day or some follow through going on today. I'll pull it up in a second. But yeah, you get this nice move and then we consolidate a little bit. It kind of tightens up and then we get some follow through. So you go to play back up to these highs and you have some decent stops. So those are the type of moves that I like. But if I pull up OKTA, yeah, look at, see? There you go. There's your follow through on OKTA. Big earnings gaps. So they call these power earning gaps or power earning plays. Very strong earnings move. Now you look for consolidation. But typically if you close at the highs of day, they get follow through. Very common to see follow through, especially on after an earnings and it's that strong of a move. So now what you do is you put this on your radar and you don't go and chase it. You know, it probably is going to 150, but you hold on to it and then you wait. You say, okay, now when it starts to consolidate 6-7 days, you look for the follow through, and then you could play that with a better risk to reward. And that's why you wait, is because it offers a better risk to reward. If you buy it right now, the only thing that you can really do for making more sense from a risk to reward standpoint is applying a VWAP to it, right? You apply a VWAP to the earnings or whatever, and you watch to see if it pulls back to it. And then see strength from it. And then you have a little bit better risk to reward. You don't need to do it on the minute time frame. You can do a 15-minute time frame, right? And so forth. But yeah, CrowdStrike came a long way, huh? CrowdStrike has been straight up. So another one, no consolidation. All right, so you're either in it or you're chasing it. And chasing it's fine, but once again, if you're chasing it, you're not doing so. You don't really want to do it on the daily time frame. You see the strength, and then you would go into a smaller time frame, and you would try to peek out smaller consolidations and use VWAPs to kind of execute a little bit more cleanly into it. because on the daily, right, it's straight up. Like a lot of these names are straight up. What was SanDisk, right? What's this one doing? SanDisk. You know, it's up 4% today. This one's been straight up for a long time. If I go to the weekly time frame, right, WDC, which is similar type of move. Fix my mic. Can you not hear me? What's going on? I don't know what's wrong with my mic. You got to be more clear. Yo, got to be more clear. Is it clipping? Was I talking too loud? Do INTC. Okay, we'll look at INTC. Give me a second here. Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on then. Sounds fine. Okay. Well, I don't know that. Gonna check back in here on NQ really quick while we're here. Yeah. NQ, nice little consolidation taking place right here. This is just a 30-second time frame, people. So you go into the minute time frame, 2 minute. I don't know. However you scalp, choose whatever time frame you want. But right now, it's just holding above daily VWAP. It's above the opening range. It's a complete range day right now, so you don't want to like necessarily chase. So a lot of times on range days, you'll get like pops down like this, and then it'll come right back up to the consolidation, or it'll pop up and then it'll come right back down. So nothing really driving this market right now. And then flow, we don't have convergence on flow, but the flow is not necessarily bearish. It's just more choppy than anything. If this keeps continuing to trend higher and this kind of flatlines out or goes down, that'd be a lot better look. Then kind of just open gamma range. And we have a wide open daily expected move. We haven't gone anywhere yet. So be open for the idea that we can still come down into either of these levels. But right now, nothing. You said Mike is cutting in and out. Maybe if I just crank down the volume just a little bit there, maybe it'll stop clipping. Because maybe if I talk a little bit too close to it, it clips. Maybe that's what it was. I'm assuming. Okay, so if we get above this 25, I would say you can shoot for 50. Shoot for a 50 handle. All right, we're here right there at about 25. Kind of just getting kind of chopped up right here, 25, 30 maybe. Get 25 points. This is NQ, right? I don't really trade NQ. I trade MNQ, but I have NQ up on my screen. Healthcare and staples have been abysmal. Yeah, that's to say the least. They've been dog water. But there has been actually some healthcare names that have been actually setting up, and I can't quite remember. I know biotech's been looking good. Oscar Health, look at this thing, right? This is moving out of a little pocket today, out of a little consolidation. Very strong move, right? And now we're pulling back, consolidating for that 7 to 10 days that I typically like to see. And we're kind of breaking through the consolidation today. So your strength, and then you can have an ideal stop would be down here. But okay, so I want to be very clear here. When I approach it now, well, at least for me, the probability of getting stopped out here is rather high. I know that you're buying strength, and then this offers up really good risk to reward. So typically I would get stopped out here, but when I execute the position where I say, okay, do I want to lose 50 basis points of my portfolio or percent of my portfolio? I really don't want to risk a percent of my portfolio if it just stops here, right? Because I feel like I'm just going to get stopped out multiple times. The thing is, if I do it that way, right, and it just comes up to here, my portfolio gains 1%, then it gains 2%, maybe 3%, and so forth. But typically what I like to do is say, okay, here's probably where I'm going to get stopped out at, but my max loss, I want to be say, it's not typically 1%. It's typically 0.5% of my portfolio, right? So 50 basis points. But the max would be okay, that's only if we come down here, right? So then I'm not really rushing a position. I'm not really worried about it all too much, but I'll probably just get out here. So if it comes and stops me out, I'm actually losing 10 basis points in my portfolio or something like that on a single name stock, which sounds oh my God, that's nothing. It actually is quite a bit in a single stock equity, especially when you start to build larger portfolios. If you have this type of beta, right? If this thing goes from where it's at right now to just this high, that's 12%, right? So meaning that if you have too big of a position and you just come out down to here, you're going to be freaked out of the position because your portfolio is going to lose 6%. And if it comes down to 10%, you need to make 10% just to make that back. But imagine losing 20%, then you have to make even more, right? Losses, they work geometrically against you. You can make 1,000%, but the moment you lose 100%, your portfolio is gone. Yeah, TSN didn't work out. I got stopped out of TSN the other day. So I got stopped out right here. There was Newsbreak. This was on the tight list. The Newsbreak, I think, was a new CEO. So I got stopped out right here on TSN that next morning. On to the next, right? On to the next. That's another reason why you don't want to go too big. So for me, this is, nothing, right? Luckily, I got out and it could have bounced right back and I would have probably got right back in. But I got out and I'm not back in because it just kept on going down. So on with it, move past it, go to the next. NVIDIA, right? Look at NVIDIA, different story. It's up 4.5% today. And so I'm in that, and then look at Tyson. That whole day, down day, I don't know where my entry was. It was probably right around here. I got out right at the VWAP. That was minus 4%, which is a huge day for Tyson, right? Huge day for Tyson. Today on NVIDIA, it's a normal day. All right, so on to the next. That's why positioning is just so critical here. All right, so here's the NQ, right? So we're kind of getting through this little pocket here. So we were looking at maybe the 50 handle. I think we're O to 50. Come up there and grab a 50. Minimum of 50. Little squeezy McSqueezerson. I want to come back over here and just really quickly look at Meta. Meta's underneath the year-to-date VWAP. And take a look here now at Meta. What's it doing? It's just seeing a little bit of relief after some strong selling. Where did it start seeing some decent relief at? Right there at the VWAP. At the same time, if we take a look back at NVIDIA, this one is what? It's taken a little bit of a relief from its upper weekly implied move. So these weekly expected moves, for those that don't know, they are plotted, right? I plot these levels on my screen. I use, my indicators here. These are all, I post these in the Discord. I'm assuming most people that are on my live stream right now are from the Discord. So I send out the levels. The expected moves are different from the eyeball levels. They're both implied moves is what they are. The one is expected moves are coming basically directly from the options chain. And I'm going in there and I'm manually doing it. Whereas you got to understand that most of these don't have daily expirations. And that's where my Asherbot comes in. It gives you another kind of area, another level of implied moves because it's derived from its implied volatility. So I'm kind of manually calculating that out. It's simple. All right. And then you could plot those on your charts. So here you go, NVIDIA. Just coming in a little bit. Maybe it wants to come back, test out daily VWAP. Maybe it doodles right back. It's very common to see this stuff kind of come back. And then Tesla, not doing much. It's towards its lower. Then Apple's taking a little bit of a breather today. This one's actually down. I'm surprised the NQ is actually pressing up higher now because you have Apple kind of falling too with NVIDIA. But Apple towards its lower weekly expected move. So if you're looking for a pullback in Apple, there you go, right? It's coming. It's finally coming in, right? People, after a run like this, people are probably like, I'm not buying that dip. I need a bigger dip. Okay. And you might get it, right? You might get it. You might not. Like I said, I typically like to see 6 to 7 days of consolidation. And if I were to buy a dip, say if Apple comes down to the lower weekly, my dip buy, I'm not going a full position into that, right? So I want people to also understand that when I try to buy the dip in a name that's been pulling back or it came into a lower expected move, I'm not going a 6%, 10% position. That would be a pilot position. It would be a 1%er. Just to get back into a position or get a new position into something that's been showing incredible strength. That's what that would be. So yeah, I would say, okay, yeah, I can do a 1% position here. It's nothing, right? It legitimately it would be not much. But then if it keeps going down, I'll at least be able to build into it. And if it wants to continue its run up, I get some of that. I get to enjoy some of that move back up to the upside. Okay, we got NBIS, Twilio. AKM, we went through that. PSX, Phillips 66. We got some oil names that are really kind of cranking out today. This one looks pretty darn bullish. This was in the tight list here too. Right? If you're bullish oil, PSX, very tight. You're seeing you're seeing the series of higher lows right here, and you're seeing kind of a little bit of a breakout today. So yeah, probably coming for that 200 at some point, especially if it kind of is. It's a little bit annoying because a lot of these oil names are so like headline driven now, obviously with the whole geopolitical risk. So MRK had a nice pop, giving it all back. Yeah, yeah. Some of the healthcare names. Yeah, healthcare is kind of taking a back seat today. There, and somebody had mentioned UNH. Yeah, UNH looks fairly good here. This one's just kind of consolidating. I'd probably put the 15-minute time frame and look to see if we can get back above the 5-day moving average and start to trend back up on this. I know a lot of people that want to short UNH. I'm like, and not just like random people, like some big people. And I'm like, I'm just gonna stay away from this because their positioning makes me feel a little irk on it. But also, it's not like it doesn't look bad. So if you were gonna go along, you can always do like spreads. Or just very well controlled risk management. And when they say they're looking to go bearish on it, I think that they're doing put spreads is what they're doing. Most likely like very controlled amount too. But whenever I see that, I'm like, I'm just gonna let them do whatever they want to do. I'm gonna just move on to the next. Walmart, and Costco too. Let's look at Walmart, Tesla, Costco, Walmart. Yeah, these consumer staples are getting tagged. This is why XLP is kind of getting hit, is because you got Costco and Walmart that have been going straight down. I'd be looking for a bounce probably pretty soon in some of these names. So, like for example, Costco. Sometimes fast breaks, false breaks, they create. You get. False moves create fast moves, or whatever the saying is, right? Well, you're kind of getting that right now. It's below the year-to-date VWAP. Let's take a look here actually at its implied move. Oh, I don't have it on my screen. That's because it's not part of my core list. Let me pull it up. So I'll go over to the Asher query. I'm going to go ahead and type in, we're going to go weekly expected move. We'll go out of all range. We'll go Costco, time frame weekly. Go ahead and pull that up. I'll share with you guys. Somebody else pulled up a name. Okay, so this is what happens if you do that on the platform. It goes like this. Okay, it looks like we got ourselves, boop, 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 boop. Our lower weekly implied move is at 928.91, 928.91. Right here. So we're not next to it yet. I'd be actually interested if we can get just like a little bit, like, so for example, if today we came down here, I'd probably actually be fine with a little position in there for a bounce. We're probably at the daily implied move, but then again, I'm not really interested in doing that for the daily implied move. So what is holding this market up right now? Microsoft. Okay. Well, Microsoft is trading around lows of the day. Amazon, a little bit of a bounce off the lows. I guess Broadcom now. I know. Broadcom's coming off a little bit off its daily implied move. Nvidia is coming back into the daily VWAP. So there's that daily VWAP tag of Nvidia. So, and NQ surprisingly is holding up right now. I don't know what is holding this thing up. We didn't quite get, did we get the 950? No, we were like 2 points away from the 950. But now that we're hitting the VWAP here on Nvidia, maybe the 950 is coming. If this can hold and we start to bounce back up, you get that to move, you get a Broadcom to move. Okay, so we went through Oscar, Sphere. Look at Sphere taking off again today too. This one was on the tight list. Actually, okay, once again, all the names that I'm pretty much pulling up are on the tight list. I couldn't make a weekend video because my wife, the day that I was recording my video to do because I was going to do one for the Patreon subscribers, for the tight list, I was going to make a video. She's like, "Oh yeah, you can keep like our sister-in-law came over or whatever, and with her kids to just grab a bassinet for her new one that's coming. And she's like, "Oh, you got to go to Costco. Why don't you just leave your kids here?" And then I'm like, I look at her, I'm like, "So I'm going to be watching these kids now." So I watched like 4 little toddlers running around, including mine, for like hours. It was hella funny. Like, okay, well, I guess I'm not recording a video. The good old volunteer. So actually, vacation is on the table here for June. Legitimately, actually. I'm not just saying that because, oh, the market goes down. I'm actually thinking about taking my kid out for vacation here in June. And typically I do vacation in June. I haven't solidified it yet fully because I usually go to this place called Bridgeport. It's like a camping trip. And yeah, unfortunately, you know, I usually stay like in the camper, but my brother ain't going, and he usually brings a camper, and my dad usually brings a camper. So, and then he's like, well, if they're not going and they're not going, but my brother-in-law is not going too because he's now doing a night shift as a sheriff. And he's like, I can't make it because they switched me up. I'm like, and then my dad's like, well, I think I'm just going to stay in your other brother's, just the cabin, and then that cabin only has like a place. And I'm like, well, if I bring Asher, that's going to be crazy. And I called to see if there's any other spaces available, and there's no spaces available. So I'm like, fuck, maybe I got to pick something else out. Is June a bad time for stocks? I don't know. I mean, it's been bad. There's been bad times in June. There's been good times. Sell everything. But I was thinking maybe do like a little ocean trip or something. I got to get out of the house. I do. Take a little break. Yeah, we can check IREN. Let's take a look at IREN. Yeah, looks strong. Looks like it wants to continue. Earnings out of the way. Did a little pullback to year-to-date VWAP. I mean, look at today. I mean, this thing looks strong. It does. But this is kind of tied to, what is it tied to, crypto or no? Or is this tied to like quantum? All data, computer hardware. Mine's Bitcoin. Okay, yeah, it is. I mean, some of these actually look pretty good, right? So there's a reason why I'm bringing that up. So, okay, so Circle, that one's down a little bit today. Okay, what was it? CoreWeave, right? Isn't that kind of tied to it too? Yeah, look at CoreWeave up 15%. I think we're good. I think we just got our 50 handle, by the way. No, we didn't. The reason why I say that is because Bitcoin's been showing some weakness, and we did get a sell signal. I got to check to see if it's a trigger. And look at how Bitcoin's at the lows of the trading session. In fact, this is probably at weekly implied move already. Oh, no, it's almost there. So I'm assuming that this also got the trigger then. So it's technically on a sell signal, sell trigger. Doesn't mean that it can't obviously bounce up, but that's an indication that we're seeing some weakness. And that's kind of puts me in pause for a lot of these crypto-related equities. Especially if we see continued weakness here. Let's look at some of the other ones like Riot. I mean, this looks strong as all heck. I mean, we're at new highs. So it's like the message didn't get, you know, so this is actually kind of interesting to me because it's like they didn't get the memo of Bitcoin's weakness, and Bitcoin's coming off and getting a sell signal, sell trigger. So one, either Bitcoin's just lying right now and we're going to flip right back. It's going to be a whipsaw, or they just haven't woken up to the fact that Bitcoin's going down and it could potentially drag these soon. So maybe perhaps you can even look into shorting some of these names and I would probably say if you were shorting them, they have to be small positions and most likely well-controlled managed via probably put spreads. I'm not going to short anything. Not my cup of tea, but back to the quantum names. This one's up now 4%. This was basically flat on the day when we were talking about it. And look at it, just still a nice consolidation. This thing looks like it's, once again, you know, if you were to just come back to the lows, it's minus 12%. So once again, these positions can't be too big. If you're oversized in these and you don't have like the wherewithal to like manage those emotions, it's going to be too crazy, right? If we just came back to the lows of today's trading session, it'd be minus 12%. Down to here, right? Just this little area, minus 30%. Yikes. Look at this thing. Shaboom. Nah, I wouldn't buy it right here. Maybe look for it to flag out. Consolidate. Pull them up. Boom, boom, boom. What are some other of these names, right? We did mention Rigetti. We mentioned QBTS and NBIX. I can't remember what that is. And some of the other ones that are down on the day. Texas Roadhouse was on my list. I don't have a position in that. I was considering getting one though here. This one's just consolidating. I think I had it on the tight list here. We saw a nice little pop up. Now it's pulling back in. Another one, Wendy's. Wendy's actually looks really good. Actually, I'm just gonna buy a position again in Wendy's. Give me a second. I want my position back in Wendy's. It was kind of a meme and a joke like a while ago, and I actually did pretty decent in it. I think it was more around here where I was like playing around with it and it popped up and I like sold some. But Wendy's is now holding year-to-date VWAP and it's flagging out after earnings. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's kind of coming back. I mean, it overall isn't a bad context, but, you know. So give me a second here. I just want some. Wendy's is the meme or was the meme in the Discord. Kind of is still a little bit. I'll take a 2% position. So nothing's crazy. How do I do this? What is going on here? Getting these cash accounts, man. Jeez, you gotta break it up. Okay, that's fine. Hella goofy. So Wendy's, Wendy's saw some strength here with some really good volume. And then I've just been kind of watching this consolidation here, right at around that year-to-date VWAP, and it's kind of just getting tight here. So, you know, if it breaks down below here, I'll probably just end up getting out, but it's such a small position. I can way be fine if it comes all the way down here in a single trading session, but I'd be out. Sneaky little Wendy's, little square burger man or lady or whoever. Yeah, you're right, Time Waster. Could be the AI overlap, what we're seeing in some of those names. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point, actually. Yeah, like we'll look at Hut, right? You point out Hut. It just kind of like Riot. It's been vertical. You're probably spot on with that, actually. You're getting the AI kind of overlap on it. It would be even better if crypto was up, probably. It'd be flying. What about MicroStrategy? How's that doing? Okay, so MicroStrategy is down 4% today. That one's a little bit more linked, obviously, to Bitcoin. So that, you know, proves your point, what you just said there. Do we get our 50 handle yet? Come on, just grab the 50. What is going on here? I feel like we're owed the 50. Now we're going to soon break the 50, and we're going to owe higher than that. But for anybody that traded the 25 or the 20 up, there is the 50. Okay, there you got it. There, bam. All right, so whoever traded that got 25 handles if they were patient enough. That took 4 minutes, whatever. But, you know, if you traded an MNQ, that'd probably be like $50 or so. Let's go back over to market net flow. No convergence yet. Okay. Let's take a look here at the MGM. Oh yeah, I was stopped. Was I stopped out of MGM? Yes, I was definitely stopped out of MGM. Or no, I was in Caesar and I was stopped out of Caesar, not MGM. Yeah, freaking Caesar. So I'd have to look to re-enter this, but this day stopped me out. MGM, man, that was on geez, I missed that. Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, MGM was on, actually, I think that was one of the trade ideas in and around here, somewhere around here. Did this little fake out over here, and I must have missed the tight list here. And look at that thing go. Hello. Up 40%. Swing and a miss. Beautiful. Tell us about the single minute trade. So what I was saying there, so if people were doing prop firms, and some people, people have to work. My thought is you can get a single trade off a day, and it could probably be just a few minutes, if that. And one of like the more basic ones I can think of is probably like some sort of a bracket order. And I'd have to figure out how this works with like Tradeovate, but the most simplistic would probably be you hone in on Tradeovate for like the 30-second range, right? Opening range. And all you do is if it closes outside of it, you play for a double of the range. And your stop loss would be down here. So it's basically a 1-to-1 RVR, right? Or you give it, a negative RR, but you'd have to hit it more frequently. And, and then if it closes below, and then the reason why I say that is because if that was the case, you would have been done, in the first 5 minutes of trade, you'd be on. You'd be, okay, get out, you're done. And you would just do that. You'd set it up, you would forget it, you'd go on with your day. You'd set it up, you'd forget it, you'd go on with your day. Another way you can potentially do that is by doing two MNQs or something like that. And then if it hits there, then, you would take one off. You'd be -1 there, right? So you'd only have one left, and then your stop loss would be 1 here, and you would just hold it for the day, right? And then if it keeps going and going, you would mark a close right before the end of day, or you're stopped out. And the reason why I say that is because there's days where the market just trends, and you want to hold it all the way to close. And if you're not sitting at the computer, these little wiggles and squiggles ain't going to bother you. And if it closes and you get a trend day, you get a lot of points. And if it doesn't trend and it just comes down here, it's kind of whatever. But the reason also why I say that is because if you look at just SPY, right, and you look at these days, right, if you do that, you're going to have days where it's like, oh, it closed at the high. It basically closed at the high, right? Off the high, but it closed way above the, in a lot of these days, they close near and around the highs. So that's why I say that. And then, the flip side would be if it starts underneath, if it closes underneath the opening range, then you would just have your stop up here and you would play it for a double, and then you would see if it trends to the downside like that, right? Did anybody trade the NQ while we said that up into the 50 handle? Came in there. There's the 50. We did it from where? We did it from right down here, the 2025 right here. And it broke out and it's coming right back in. Anybody trade that? Probably not. I did. I had a little position. Fortunately, if I'm trading on these prop firms, I can't live call out my positions apparently, because then they'll deny me payout. Or they have the potential to deny me because they say group trading is not allowed. So it's like, whatever. Yeah, let's take a look at oil. Yeah, dollar was nicely bid today. Let's see if it's still up. Yeah, dollar's bid up pretty nicely today. Still a very defensive posture here for the dollar. Okay, we mentioned that on the last brief. And then bonds came off. Let's see where those are at. Yeah, down 1%. Not surprised here, right? We saw a big bid back. Actually, I don't know if those that watched the videos, but anybody remember when I was showing the SPX to TLT ratio, but I wasn't showing just the ratio line. I was showing the RSI and how it was like a very, very extended reading. It was like in the 80s or 90s. That was when we were coming down into these ranges. It was probably even over here. Did it for a couple of days. So in those cases, when you get these extreme moves, and then you look at, like, for example, like I like to look at these bridge bands. I call them, the zones, the zones. It was also coming down to the lower part of these zones. In one of my accounts, I went long TLT for just the bounce, and I didn't hold it all the way up to here. I think I held it up to this day, and then it went a little bit higher. But it was just for a quick move, quick bounce. McDonald's. Oh, and then, what was oil doing really quick? Sorry. Oil is also just holding very defensive. Range bound, defensive. McDonald's. What's Ronald doing? Ronald's getting clipped in the booty. Ow. Sorry, buddy. Old Ronald McDonald. Yeah, the consumer staples are getting really, really just beat up. Nothing new there. Yeah, so for McDonald's, I'd probably just stay away from it for right now. If you were trying to buy the dips, once again, I'd probably go into like the weekly implied moves, watch where those are at. So, I'll run the query right now. I don't know where it's at. So weekly implied move, even monthly implied move now at this point, because we have a new month. The lower level is at 271.73. So the weekly implied move is at 271.73. This is what the market kind of priced in here for the week. A little bit lower. Definitely outside of its daily implied move then. Lines up with this low. So maybe even an undercut. If we can undercut through that, which I hate breaking a new low and then trying to go long it. So that's not my favorite right there, to be quite frank. But at least you're doing it based off of market expectations. But overall, I'm not really interested. ZM, Zoom Communications, dude, preparing for another pandemic apparently. Just going up. Yeah, very strong. So as far as right now goes, I wouldn't be really interested in entering it. I mean, probably push to 110 if we get this trend continuation, but earnings. Yeah, so earnings came out, good reaction, although we did close at the lows. So for me, I would say we would probably need to consolidate a bit here. I would prefer to see it kind of go a little bit side. Actually, in fact, I'd like to see it pull in like that, not go through this and then come back in, because then it would look a little too sloppy. But you're seeing strength there. You're seeing some continuation. Also a good, not a bad look. Not a bad look. Target's getting clipped today. 2 standard deviation, lower expected move today. And this is this one's a pretty bullish trend from a year-to-date perspective. It's doing pretty good. Today it's getting clipped down to its lower 2 standard deviation move, which was at 122.01. So we just clicked that 122.01 a little bit ago. 122 right here. This is a daily 2 standard deviation move. Sometimes I like to trade these intraday. I haven't done much intraday stock trading though recently. You see these kind of like tight trends like this, and you play them underneath the 2 standard deviation move. Let me make this pink. And then you buy through it, and then you look to see if it can break and come back to like daily VWAP. We'll come back and visit that. We'll use that as kind of as an example. But this one's kind of moving with the kind of consumer stable sector, obviously, today. Yeah, Costco's, man, holy moly. Costco's going full waterfall, that's for sure. We put up the weekly implied move. We're not that far off of it. We're about $9 from it. I actually, like I said earlier in the stream, if we can come down to the weekly expected move, especially today, I'd actually be interested in doing a little bounce play, and not only because it's at the weekly implied move, but because of where it's come from and how fast it came down. So if I was to enter in on a pullback like anything like this, that would be ideal for me. I'm not buying Target right now, but I can see the case for it. If it isn't a bull trend, it's above year to date VWAP, right? You're dealing with some volatility here, and it's pulling into its daily 2 standard deviation move. And so one of the strategies that I use sometimes for this would be more okay. So it sometimes goes day trade into swing trade. So sometimes on a day trade, if I do this, I'd be buying underneath the 2 standard deviation move, and I'd be playing it back through and trying to get to daily VWAP. Sometimes it doesn't get there. But then my day trade size could be bigger, and then I'll cut that size off, take some of the profits, and then I'll hold it for a swing trade. And then I have a bigger buffer because I made some money on my day trade, if that makes sense. Oust. Let's take a look at Oust. OUST. Yeah, I mean, I can see why it might have your attention. This thing has been a lot of volume, and it's been straight up. Probably is going for that 50 marker here at some point. So another thing, right, that I'd like to see, right? So it's kind of just doing this chop. Right now we have an inside day, but it would be so much nicer if we can just get like some decent consolidations and then you play through it, right? Boom, and then you just see it rip. It's quite literally NVIDIA is why I was looking at this one is because I love these type of consolidate. It was the same thing here, right? Consolidation, and then you look for the follow through. But yeah, OUST is very strong, but I can't like just buy it up here. I mean, I can, but I would have to like, where do I risk? Or like, what do I risk? It'd have to be a small amount, and then I can always potentially add to it if it sets back up. So for example, if I take a position right now, it'd have to be like a 1% position, right? It'd have to be a 1% position or something like that. Then it'd have to come in, and then if I see strength, then I'm like, okay, now I can add. So then basically, it's one of those. Not even a pilot position. It's more of like be on my radar, have some money in it, and then set it back up if it makes sense. Mobileye was a pretty similar situation, right? I think this is kind of like that LiDAR thing. Maybe not. I can't remember. But this one was setting up here after earnings, and then we saw a nice pop. And then on a video a couple of days ago or whenever it was, we were talking about names that hit their 2 standard deviation daily moves or whatever. And that was this is exactly where it hit. We said these are like some of the names that you want to see it pop from. Same thing with like Generac. I think Generac was another one that we did the same thing with. Came down to its daily implied move, and that it was a strong stock pulling back hard, right? So go back to the Target thing. You're seeing a strong stock, right, pulling back for the day, and then you potentially look to see if it can get some continuation. Hey, there we go. NQ, new highs on the day. Here we go. Opening the door. So if we want to continue this, we're going to be probably SPX can bring us up to like that 75.90, 7,600. If we're going to continue this, I wouldn't be trying to short it. I'd be looking for pullbacks, and you buy the strength, and we're going to go for that 500 marker now. All right, you just kind of like, that's what I would look for at least. All right, keep it simple, right? If you're sitting here trying to short a breakout, not the smartest move. Obviously, you can get lucky, pops and fake outs, but more ideally, you want to see pullbacks and then continuation. It's just easier to trade with the trend, if that makes sense. So ideally, and then if I look at market net flow, it's not giving us any warning signs really. There's just no convergence, which is annoying. SPX is actually flat on the trading session, and we're breaking through this last 15-minute high. So yeah, I would say look for the 500, and I would like to see it come in just a little bit and then go for 500 probably. That'd be more ideal. Long it till you wrong it. Long it till you wrong it. So for example, if you were long right now, the 80, if you were along the 80 right now, I'd say I would be expecting kind of a pullback, and I'd want it to hold like maybe through 60s, maybe through 50s. I definitely would want it to hold 50s. Because I don't want to give back 30 points there, but 500 seems like it's in a striking distance now, and then we can enter a new block area, right? Okay. SPX is just a cash market open. Or SPY, I should say. So sometimes we get held up at these cash market levels. Let me open up SPY. Boop, 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 boop. Oop, nope, not on demand. What am I doing? Yeah. So we're kind of right there at cash market open. I don't have the line on my screen, but it's basically right here. Where did we close? 756.4. Yeah, good enough. So ideally, if you're bullish, you'd want S&P 500 above its cash market open. You want to get through this. So let's take a look at some of the bigger names. NVIDIA. You'd want to see this whole daily VWAP, right? You'd actually really kind of want to see this break this high and head back up. That would be much more bullish. Google, that one came in a little bit here. What's holding this thing up right now? Microsoft? Microsoft came in a little bit. Amazon ain't doing anything really. I guess Broadcom is currently holding it up. Let's go back over to Tesla. Damn, these financials. These financials haven't done anything for a minute. Is crypto dead? I don't think crypto's dead. I think just gotta wait it out, right? Like right now it's dead, right? But things come back to life. So Bitcoin got a sell signal and sell trigger. We talked about that on just the last video or a couple of videos in a row, how it was kind of going that route. And we're getting some follow through to the downside on it today. And right now it's coming into, it looks like it's going to come into its weekly expected move. Which this is a futures expected move. I'm not a huge fan of the future expected moves. I'll use them. But mostly I'm using like the index, like SPX, NDX and stuff like that. I'm watching those. But it gives us an idea. But futures expected moves can be a little wonky. So I have to be like careful how I pull these and stuff. IBIT. That's, our weekly expected move for IBIT is down here at about 39.79. So yeah, I mean, crypto doesn't look all too hot, that's for sure. So it's one of those things like you got to be a little bit more cautious. Ethereum, right? Near lows of the, So for me, I would want to see these things. I would want to see my sailor to shift tool flip back to more positive, and it's not there yet. It was there, and it created a nice little pop there. It was good. And on top of that, if you were following the equities, it was even better. Bull was on the tight list. This week's tight list? I feel like it was on the tight list, probably through here. Here, maybe? But probably not. I can't recall. I'd have to go pull it up. But right now, no, I'm not interested in it. I'd be more interested if it was holding above the year-to-date VWAP, which is that purple line. So you'd have to come back in here and kind of do that. It's kind of like Microsoft, right? Microsoft, well, it's nothing like Microsoft, but like Microsoft, I said, I'm not interested if it's below the VWAP, but I am interested if it can hold above it. Last week, okay. Yeah, so it looked great last week. It looked good. It was holding up, and once again, if it breaks down, you just respect it. If it sets back up, you can always re-enter. I mean, think of it like I don't know if any of you are familiar with the turtle traders. Michael Covell wrote a book on the turtle traders. Did some interviews. That book is great. I do the audio book. I listen to that. I'm listening to it again right now. Actually, I listen to it when I'm at the gym. Gives me a really good pump, listening to turtle traders. Just kidding. But they, they would talk about they would just exit the position like 4 or 5 times if it keeps going against them, but they would still enter back if it shows the strength again. And then sometimes when it goes, and then it would make up for all the little losses. So you got to just kind of respect it. You can take a great position and you can oversize and make it a horrible position too, by the way, right? It looks great. Okay, let's say this is the best stock in the world, right? Whatever. And it's setting up and it's so great. Well, you oversize the position and it becomes from a great setup to a horrible setup. CVX, we'll do CVX really quick and then I'll look at this other stuff here. Yeah, CVX, it's a little bit too noisy. A little bit too noisy here, but it is getting back above that VWAP. And oil has been kind of on a bid. So you're dealing with some geopolitical stuff, right? So be okay with that. But it's kind of like range bound, really kind of moving with the tonality of oil. I was looking at PSX earlier, and PSX tells a little bit different story, right? PSX, it's above the the VWAP too, but it's also putting in a series of these higher lows, and you're getting a little bit cleaner risk to reward opportunities here. But they'll both go down if oil goes down, most likely. So if I look at oil, right, oil looks pretty much like a Chevron chart. You get the pop up and it's kind of just chopping around. CVX, right? Popped up, kind of just chopping around, range bound. So ultimately, if you're long it, you'd probably want it to hold the VWAP, the year-to-date VWAP, and maybe, not cross up back under here. So you still have a decent risk to reward where you're like, hey, if I go long, this is my stop, here's my entry, and I'm trying to go back up to here. Okay, then your risk to reward is legitimately like 2 to 3 to 1. You just, once again, you need to respect it if it comes in. And right now we're pulling back in, so maybe if it comes back to daily VWAP, you buy it at the volume weighted average price for the week. S&P 500, trying to make a push here. Like I said, I think we're owed the 500, which is, whoa. Give me a second. Here we are. Hello. There's a day done. I was going for 500. I got 520. All right, I got to get out of that. 590 on SPX. We're kind of pulling up into that, and that was a 0-date level. 590 right here. So we probably just had news hit the tape. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Whew. I thought I did that in just the wrong account. I did it in both. Okay. Good thing I was paying attention. Man, these news bombs, they be coming. They be coming, man. So whatever that was brought us down, CVX down to it's bringing oil down. So I'm assuming that was probably a Trump tweet. Full ceasefire with Israel. I don't know if this is up to date. However. Okay. Oh, you know what also I'm in a position in? Mike, are you buying SpaceX IPO? No, I'm probably not going to buy the IPO. I might trade it, but I'm not going to buy it. Yeah. Because I don't know who's going to be, like, they're hyping this thing. What is like $1 trillion? It's like the largest in history. Wasn't like Google IPO for like 30 million? It was like multiple rounds of it. And then we're talking like multiple rounds for this one. And it's like in the trillions. It's crazy. So I think it's going to be an important one. But I also think like early investors are going to be dumping and like cashing out, right? So I don't know what to expect with it. Maybe some pops and then some big drops like most IPOs. But it might create some really good trading ideas. But I'm not just buying it and holding and hoping. Not a chance. And if I were to do that, it'd be such a small position. It can go up 100% and it basically make my portfolio 1%, right? I know, isn't that funny? People say war is bullish. Peace is bullish right now. Peace has been bullish. That crazy. Well, that was pleasant. Was anybody long up to try to go into the 500 and just got a pleasant surprise? Did anybody try that or no? That's funny. Look at, so check it out. Okay, so you'd have to rewind it or clip it, but we started shooting up and we said, look for a little bit of a pullback. It looks like we owe 500. Look at where it pulled back to. It pulled back right to our line, just these prior highs. You don't want to short a breakout is what we said. And you get this news on the breakout and follow through. That's killer. Hell yeah. Oh, and we got some people that have been doing it or that bought. Good stuff. And that's why you don't want to short. You don't want to short when there's bullish flow. And by flow, I'm just talking about market net flow. All right. And you don't want to chase the long. You just want to wait for a little bit of a pullbacks, right? And then you want to try to get the continuation in. You couldn't have planned this out, right? I don't know that there's going to be a tape bomb here, but that was a pleasant surprise. Hell yeah. The effect on Tesla shares, I really do not know. I have no idea. I don't know. And here's the reality, though. So on this news drop, I like to put a VWAP to it, by the way, just kind of see if price can hold above it. And then maybe, we break in and then it comes back up into it. Maybe U-turns. Maybe creates a little bit more of a scalp. I'm out right now. But so as far as like the shares on Tesla, like I have no idea. But here's the reality too, right? And that most people don't want to tell you. I mean, well, any professional will tell you. Well, at least I think that they will. You can like legit, like pick a company, any company, right? Tesla, we'll say Tesla. If I knew Elon Musk and he's like, hey, we're going to report earnings and we're going to say this, this, and this about it. They're going to be blowout earnings. It's going to be really good. I'd be like, what do I do with that information? Right? Because the market, we've seen it countless times, right? You can know exactly what the Fed's going to say or what it's going to do, but you have no idea how the market's going to react. Zero. You can have an idea because you're like, oh, it's going to be bullish earnings, right? Or the Fed's going to be coming out really dovish. But yet the market might take that and be like, this is, it's a sell the news event. And it's like, that's why I don't really tie myself too much into the fundamental story or like these quick like narratives. More like the underlying trend of, for example, if you are doing in fundamentals, maybe you're looking at the trends of earnings growth, the trends of, revenues and margins, and you're seeing, that go higher, right? Then you can be like, okay, now I have the supportive fundamentals behind me and the technical setup is there too. And then you feel a little bit more confident. But you still have to manage risk. Right? You can't take these narratives and be like, and it goes against you and be like, well, the narrative is there. If price isn't there, the narrative does not matter. It just doesn't matter at all. Right? It might down the road, but if you're going to hold on to the loser for minus 50% for 4 years, and then all of a sudden it's up 1,000%, that's great in all said, but then you look like a rock star. But the reality is you might have missed out on a whole bunch of other opportunities and you'd be doing way better if you just got out and got back in at the more pristine time. So it's just more of a little of a rant there, but that's why I don't get too tied into the story portion. So you just got to be okay with like changing your mind, right? Change is the competitive advantage in trading. If you can change your mind and be okay with it, you're going to be probably significantly better off as a trader, right? Like, oh, hey, I'm long this. Oh, it went again. Like, okay, like the most recent stop out that I did was Tyson, right? TSN. Hey, man, I'm super bullish, right? Let me maximize this. Give me a second. Hey, I'm bullish Tyson. Yeah, it looks really good. You know, you have your earnings move, nice consolidation, boom. Stopped out. Okay, whatever, I'm out. Sucks, but doesn't suck as much now if I would have held it or doubled it, you know, right? So on to the next. On to the next. Only price pays, yeah. The option bot, the Asher bot levels seem more accurate. You know, Chris, I'll tell you exactly why that is. I know why that my Asher levels look more accurate right now is because they're based off of that 30-day implied volatility, and the single stock volatility is actually higher than index vol. Look at VIXEQ, constituent volatility. So individual implied volatility, you know, is higher. Like, and look at this is like at the highs of the year. That's why my volatility Asherbot looks so much more accurate right now, is because individual volatility is higher, and the through the options chain, it's typically a little bit lower. So like if I go to like the index vol, like VIX is at the lows. This is dispersion. This is the dispersion that we've been talking about. So you're right to pick up on that. But there's a reason for that. Look at dispersion. It's up again. That's wild. So this isn't, and don't think of this as bullish or bearish, right? I think people do think that's why I got to always like be very clear that I'm not shorting the market, right? You know, that I'm like taking profits or I'm looking for rotations and et cetera, et cetera. Because I look at the times that the prior times that these happened, and then people are, oh, get ready to short it or whatever. Dispersion is really just telling you, it's like in short, it's like a very clear stock picker's tape. Like, and you know, a lot of, you know, hedge funds use like dispersion strategies and stuff like that. That gets like very, very intricate, very intricate. So you can dumb it down for retail traders. Like, I don't think that we really need to like dive into the mechanics of all of that. And I think one of the main reasons why is because you get to a point of intricacy where it's like, it doesn't matter that you know this stuff because it doesn't matter of how you buy and sell and how you position size. But when you get the extremes, I think that matters. Extreme readings really tells you can take your foot off the gas a bit. And we are seeing that. Like Core 3M, right? The implied correlation, very low. Hey, Norm. Thanks, man. Please disperse. Break and upside in Palantir. I haven't checked in Palantir for a minute. I guess there's a reason why, because it hasn't been doing anything. I guess these last 3 days, it kind of is moving with Microsoft, huh? Yeah, nice. I mean, back above year-to-date VWAP. Overall, though, what are we doing? Range trade. It's at the upper part of the range, so maybe a consolidation under that would be nice. You know. I'm going to be a 5 to 10% correction underway. I'm kind of with you on that, Christopher. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's probably going to be the case. I think that Kevin Warsh, like, I don't know what he's going to come out and say or do, but I feel like with the hotter than expected inflation, Norm, that's a pretty cool, you doing like, what is that? It's like a drink thing there. That's pretty good. These little emojis that you did. It's like a White Claw on Twitch. I've never seen that before. That's cool. Hymns. Okay, dude, Norm, I was going to pull up Hymns and I forgot to. So thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I have a position in Hymns. So I entered in to Hymns, I think right over here. And my main idea for a stop would be here, but I think my max was set up here for like max loss. But I think I'd be out right here. And yeah, I was just playing for a continuation, see if we can continue back up into these areas, these 30s. And I'll update that. And then Rivian, that fell off my radar too, unfortunately, because I got chopped up too much. I actually did okay in Rivian on these little pops here. I can't remember if I accidentally held onto earnings. If I did, it was pure luck. I think I didn't. I can't remember. Or no, maybe I held it here and then I saw like a lucky pop and then got out. I can't remember. Too choppy for me. I would like to see the consolidation for sure. Like it's just too boom, 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 boom. So maybe flatten out a little bit, like up here, if we can, just, shape up. Kind of like what QBTS is doing and all these quantum names right now. Wait, no, QUBT. Look at this thing; it's still going. Dang, people! Did anybody take this? Did anybody just do a shot in here when we talked about it earlier, by any chance? I didn't. Damn. Yeah, we talked about Rigetti too. That's at the highs of the trading session. This is a nice consolidation. Dang, dude. I'm wondering at QBTS. There's QBTS. Let me pull that up. This one's up only 3% or so. Also at highs of the day. Man, I almost feel like I should just have a position. That means it'd be like a 1% position, but I'm looking at the intraday here, and it's like I don't really feel like buying it up here. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll look at these names. If we get some sort of a pullback in some of the quantum names today, I'll try to execute a position. But right now, I'm just either miss it or whatever. You took QBTS? Yeah, nice. You took some QUBT? I mean, if you do look at the dailies, and you set it up properly and you're not worried about the volatility of it, right? Because remember, if it comes down to the lows, it's minus 12%, right? So that can't hurt you. You got to set it up in a way where you're okay with losing 10, 20% on this thing, because it could freaking be up to $80 in like this. Maybe not $80, but you see what I'm saying? It moves fast. Maybe $80. Who knows? I mean, remember Oklo? That was like 2,500% gain. I remember Oklo down here. See my little flag? I was like, look for the pullback. Look for the pullback. And then you get some follow through. I'm like, oh, look how good I am. Look how good I am. And then it goes up to 193, from down here. But, I wouldn't have held from all the way down. That's what is this? From down here to down here? 70% decline. I'm good. But there's other entries too, like this little consolidation here. Actually, Oklo is setting back up. Look at it. Oklo is just consolidating right under the year-to-date VWAP here. Man, the market has a lot of setups. It's actually kind of crazy. And it sucks because the market's been basically vertical. So it's man, are we going to see correlation again? And if we are, then the market's going to pull in these things with it. But you can't fight price. The price does look decent on some of these names, So you might as well just put some in. And if you get stopped out, you're out. If it keeps going, great. This isn't my first live session, Kilgore. I do some lives on occasion, but, it's been harder because I just doing projects, and then I have now 2 children. And I made it a commitment to be live today. These live streams, they do take up my entire day, and I don't make anything from these live streams. Right? Maybe $4 on YouTube Rev. YouTube Rev sucks butt for me. All right, so maybe more Tortapi would be right kind of where we are, 75.90, 7,600, right in around here. Daily expected move, though, is higher for SPX, but, these are some fairly sizable gamma levels. So we could kind of be tiring out. So make sure you're just, you're happy with your profits for the day. I'm closing out my actually... So I'm trading I have end of day Apex accounts right now that I'm trying to get another payout in. So I'd be super stoked if I can do it. But I hit my 250 threshold or whatever, like, or whatever I'm supposed to hit on it for like the day. These rules, man, the rules are kind of hard, but once I hit that, like you need 5 days of like $250 or something like that. And this was day 4 for an additional payout. So I got one more day to go of hitting at least 250 or higher. And then I can try to get another payout. And then my Lucid trading, I'm up 270 on these 5 accounts. So 270, 270. I think I'm just going to call it on that too. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm not going to try to push limits here. So I think I'm going to call my futures trading session done. I think I entered into one stock today, and that was I think it was only one stock, Wendy's. Out of all the stocks you can choose, I chose Wendy's. Oh, for sure, Kilgore. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll still watch the futures here, but I'm probably myself not going to be executing any trades. Just I'm pretty happy with my day so far. So I want to be happy for the rest of the day. I want to be happy for the rest of the day. Go to the gym, get a little exercise in. I was going to do a market brief tonight. Sometimes when I do these live streams, it's very difficult for me to like do a market brief and all that good stuff as well. But yeah. What's everyone else doing today? What is everyone doing? Is people at work right now? Am I on their cell phone? Am I on your main home computer? On a TV? Where are you watching from? Thanks for tuning in, by the way, hanging out. I like to keep these pretty casual, just kind of like, hangout sessions. I call it like the help desk. If you have questions, you can ask them. We'll pull up stocks and we'll look at it together and we'll think strategically. We're not going to be biased. No hype. Screw the hype. I'm here to make money in the markets and protect my money. You're at work? Nice. Working from the quotations. I like it. Vancouver Island. I have to look up on a map where that is. So, dumb over here. Wendy's is the most talked about stock on Discord. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But it's kind of funny too. That's why we need Wendy's to do good. We just need to be the only Discord on this planet hella talking about Wendy's. Just, I don't know, I forget who started it again, but somebody just brought it up and we were like laughing about it. The other people were, and then it was we just carried it on. I think people are picking up on Wendy's though. I honestly do. So I had someone message me the other day and they said, "Hey, do you know that there's actually some hedge funds looking into Wendy's right now?" I'm like, what does that even mean? And I forget what they said, but they're like, "No, look at it's on their list of top rated stocks." And I was like, "What? Wendy's?" So I don't know any inside information on what's going on at Wendy's, obviously, and I definitely don't want anybody to send me any or know anything, but I'm assuming that there was some sort of news and they got the news or something like that, but they said, "No, dude, it's on their radar." I'm like, okay, sure. Full port Wendy's. I like Wendy's too. I haven't had Wendy's for a while, but so I'm a big fan of their Frosties, but obviously I can't go to Wendy's. I don't live next to a Wendy's. It's like not close by. Actually, I don't even know where the closest Wendy's is. Let me see. I haven't seen a Wendy's for a minute. I'm gonna check. I don't even think I can DoorDash Wendy's. Yeah, way too far away. I can't. Oh, wait, no, it's not. I mean, it's kind of far. Like, I ain't going to drive 15 minutes to go to Wendy's, right? So, like, who would drive 15 minutes out of their way just to go to a Wendy's? I mean, maybe they're, that to me is like little too, because that means I have to drive 15 minutes and drive 15 minutes back. That's 30 freaking minutes to get some Wendy's. If I lived like down the road, I would do it. So if I'm in the area, I'll get a Frosty. But what I was going to say was, I have one of those Ninja Creamies. Ninja Creamies. I'm not that far. I'm like 15 minutes from Wendy's, right? So I'm not that crazy far, but you know, it's far enough to not want to drive out. Like if I'm driving 15 minutes to food, I'm typically going to somewhere like a little bit nicer, like a restaurant. That's not like a more of a sit down restaurant. You know, fast food chains are like, okay, I'm hungry and I got to go get some food. Wendy's bar had a salad bar and tacos. I used to love the Carl's Juniors that had green burrito or whatever, and they had like these salsa bars. So I would get the in like college, community college, you know, for my first year. Not university. I'm not that smart. I would go into there. I'd get the dollar chicken sandwich or whatever from Carl's Jr. And then I would go to the green salsa bar or whatever, the green burrito salsa bar or whatever it was called. And I would like deck it out with like salsas and stuff. Me and my buddy. Oh, man. To be young. Buying a large, I'm going to buy a large soda from Wendy's. Yeah. And to pump their earnings. Shoot, that's funny. Tuning in from Utah. Hey, that's what's up. What's up, Gary? I live out in the Sacramento. Well, actually, technically now Placer County. Sacramento County. Placer County, Sacramento. Ninja Creamies are awesome. Yeah. So what I did with the Ninja Cream, because I wanted the frosty, back to what I was saying, is you get Fairlife chocolate milk, and then you just put that in the Ninja Creamy, and then you freeze it, and it tastes just like a frosty. You know, just more protein, and probably not as bad. Probably a lot less sugar too. So it's not as good, clearly, but I had one of those last night. All right. You live near Walnut Creek? Oh, so you're rich. Nice. Oh, cool. So you're rich. Walnut Creek is beautiful. I'm not too familiar with Danville, but sounds nice. Yeah. Went to UC Davis. Nice. So you're rich and smart. Cool. Cool. You my doctor? Surgeon?
Need to unlock your iPhone first.
Need to unlock your iPhone.
You need to turn on location.
Why is that doing that? What the hell's going on here? You used to go to bars and Sac all the time? Oh, cool. Any particular ones? Like any names that you remember? Maybe I can recall. I used to go to this bar in Sac, but I don't think anybody knows about it. Well, maybe. It was like kind of a hole in the wall. I was more of the hole in the wall type of guy because I was too much of a wallflower at like the nightclubs. Dang it, what's the name of that bar? It was near this pasty shack on like J Street or H Street or something like that. It's called a pasty shack in like on J Street, and right next to it there was a bar. And every time I walked into it, because it did get somewhat busy some nights because people played pool and stuff, they'd go, Mr. Silva. Mr. Silva. Club Toomey. Don't get confused by the word club. Club Toomey. The number 2. There you go. Club Toomey. Man, I'm pulling this up right now. Some brothers owned it. These older guys. Total hole in the wall if you pull up the photos. But if you open it up, you'll like see like the dartboard and like the little games and like the what's it called? They were cool. Okay. Bay Area to Sacktown. I'm not in the Bay Area anymore. That's where I grew up, though. You're not missing anything if you've never been to Club Toomey, gosh. It's probably a good thing. Just a depressing bar. No, it's fun. All right, so this VWAP that we got that news on, we're kind of reverting it pretty much back to and around the 500 marker. I'm done for trading. So I'm just kind of chilling, watching. Is anyone active right now and like trying to like scoop something up? Because well, I guess it kind of moved already. But I was gonna say if you come back into these 500s and you can hold it, maybe towards like the 85er area, sometimes you can get pops back up to that VWAP, right? So you know, not like my atypical type of setup, but you come back into a key level like 500. I hate how it already tested it though, because this one, so this would have been the more ideal one. It would be like, oh, you come to a big round number like this, and then you try to play it back up to that kind of key VWAP. But you never know. It can do round 2 of it. So that's why I kind of gave it a little bit more space, maybe like the 85-ish. You know, try to play it back up, but well, I'm not trading it. EPW and SPY. Mainly out to EPW and SPY. What do you mean, Gary? EPW, isn't that like a country? Euro? Oh, in a week? EOW? Is that what you mean, EOW? End of week? Oh, are you saying that you're out basically till end of week? Stall day. Just chopped out. I think we did pretty good for a stall day. It definitely helped being part of the, part of this move over here. Can't complain. Yeah, end of week. Yeah, I figured that what you meant. Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area. Abu, Belmont, California, or Belmont. Yeah, Belmont. I didn't quite make it to high school there. I went to high school up here. Yeah. What do I think of gold? Didn't gold get clobbered today from some of this news? Kind of got hit on some of the news. I think you're probably due for a little bit of some relief in gold, but who remembers the short that I set up over here? Talk about lucky. Does anybody remember that tweet, by the way? It was just like randomly, I was like, oh, somebody blew up. And it was legitimately overnight session when it flew up really high. And I was like, what was that? Like something, somebody just blew up. That was like the exact top. So lucky. I got to find that tweet now. In hindsight, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, you probably see some relief here, but the only thing that's kind of holding me on the whole gold and silver trade is because the dollar kind of looks a little bit defensive here. And, if this kind of, uncertainty continues in the markets and they're beating up bonds, like where are we going to fly to safety? Are we going to go back into dollar and see this thing, pop back up? And if so, are we going to hold that negative correlation that it has to like gold? Meaning that if we pop up higher in the dollar, is gold going to take a little bit more of a backseat? I really just dislike trading things that are so tied to these geopolitical risk events. I like things that move with flow and more naturally. But man, it makes it so much more difficult. Like it can be very beneficial if you get some geopolitical stuff, headwinds, like tailwinds or whatever you want, like whatever it's called, like that you can be a part of it. But Wolf Pantry, like, so Wendy's, yeah. Wendy's. Dual and Wendy's. My stock picks, Duolingo and Wendy's. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire. Hey, Duolingo's moving. Heck yeah, dude. It's back up. Wait, what? Wait a second here. Dude. What happened to Duolingo? Let's go. Heck yeah. Let's go, Duolingo. You're carrying my portfolio today. And NVIDIA. Wendy's, you ain't doing anything for me. And then I like Sols, S-O-L-S. I have a position there. I have Hims. Hims is doing good. That's up 5% today. Some random names. Just random names. And they're They're not crazy positions, but Sols, SOLS. This one also, it's like, it looks really good, but it just hasn't gone anywhere. Getting very tight. So the unfortunate thing is, like, I like these tight setups, right? I do. But things that I've seen happen is it snaps one way, shakes me out, and then moves hella fast. And for some reason, I have this weird inkling that that's going to happen to me here. Like, look at MGM. I traded Caesar. I was in MGM at a while, and I actually took profits, and then I'm glad that I did, and I never got back into it. But like this would have probably shaken me out if I was in it. I'm like, I'm just going to get out. And then it just does this. So lately, I've had to just scale back, because if I want to catch any moves, I have to have smaller size. And if I have too big of size and I get shaken out because I'm just managing risk, and then it goes against me, I'm like, it just takes its toll, when you look back onto it in hindsight. And I don't like to have my mind just wrapped and warped to feeling bad. I'd rather just feel good about catching some and feel good about if it keeps on dropping, right? And I got out. So some AI news dropping soon on Duolingo. Is that what's going on? You mean they're gonna convert to AI something? Isn't it like AI something already, or no? Just like a Rosetta Stone type of thing, right? Yeah, we'll look at SATs. SATS. This looks like Souls. What is this? A chemical company? What is this? Pay TV services. Oh, so like a communications. So it has nothing to do with the other name, but man, it looks just like it. You kidding me? Look at this thing. Yeah, it looks great. It looks good. But oh my gosh, that's funny, because it legitimately looks like this company. And this is not a communication. I thought this was a chemical company. Am I getting things confused? Yeah, chemicals. The same thing. Funny. It looks good. Yeah, SATS, it looks good. You're consolidating, right? You get a couple of these fake out moves, and then it shakes back down. Once again, not a fan of that, but it's still holding up. So as long as we can hold this year-to-date VWAP, that'd be where I'd be focused in on. Now, if I were to execute a position into this, I'd say, okay, I'm willing to lose, a 0.5% of my portfolio, but I'd only want to lose 0.5% of my portfolio if it came down here. But I'd probably be out of the name over here. So really, I'd be risking about 25 basis points in my portfolio, but I'd be giving it room to go. So if I said I want to lose 1% of my portfolio if I'm wrong, because that's all I can think through is if I'm wrong, the chance of me getting stopped out right here are probably pretty high. And that's okay. That's okay to be wrong. But I probably want my 1% down here, my max stop, and then if it breaks out, good, I catch it, and then I'll just move my stop up. Kind of adjust it as time goes there. VR, good question. Yeah. Do they own a bunch of SpaceX? Oh, interesting. Okay. You think nuclear's about to pop? Take a look at Oklo. Oklo actually looked pretty good. Any nuclear names that you have on idea? Oh, hey, look at. So we held that and we went back to VWAP. Did anybody trade that? I didn't, obviously, because I said I didn't. But see what it did? It held that area. So we got 2 of those trades. Boom, back to that VWAP. Can we do 3? The more times it happens, the less likelihood. But hey, you never know. It has to hold the 85, 86. Go back to daily VWAP. So Oklo looks pretty good. Okay, back to sorry, I got sidetracked VR. Okay, previously mentioned that occasionally you graduate a position from day trading to swing trading or to a long-term holding. Do you have any books on this topic? I don't. That's basically an internal thing that I do. I'm probably, I'm certain other traders do that as well, but I can give you an example. of what that might look like. So for example, we brought up Target earlier, right? So Target, and we use it. I said, we'll come back to this. And we said, okay, I like to typically buy it under a 2 standard deviation daily move, right? And that's where I use my Asher bot. And give me a second. My wife's texting me. Okay. So Target on the daily time frame. So if I'm going to swing trade, the daily chart has to look okay, right? So if I look at this, yeah, it's not doing like too hot over here, but it's been up on the year-to-date basis. It's holding year-to-date VWAP. We're just putting in higher highs and higher lows. So it's in an uptrend. Today, we got an alert for a 2 standard deviation daily move, right? And no, I didn't trade it, but sometimes what I like to do on these is when we're in an uptrend on a daily time frame and we're getting some hit down, as long as it's not like earnings, right? I ignore that. I don't do the earnings stuff. And then as long as it's not like a downgrade or something like that, or some real big kind of news catalyst that creates why we're getting this selling. Like for example, Tyson did it, and Tyson Foods though had a new CEO. So I'm like, I'm out. All right. Target, does it have any news? No, nothing new, nothing really new today, right? So it's just down on the day. Moving with the market, right? Look at Costco, look at Walmart. Came underneath its 2 standard deviation move. I like to sometimes try to do a day trade back up to daily VWAP or into and around there, right? So if you played this move and you came back up and you're up here, you're up almost 1%. So what I do on a day trade, because they're typically more size, is now I'd probably scale it back fully, like to a swing trade size position where it's like 2% or 3% of my portfolio. Whereas day trades, they can go up to 25, 50% of my portfolio. Like they can be big. Hey, what's up, Vinny? Right? Because I'm not holding it overnight. I'm just holding it for the day. Right? So I day trade and then bam, I'm like, okay, say if I buy it down here and now I'm out, right? So now I exit from my 25% position or 40, 50% position in Target for just a day trade. Now I exit that down to, I don't know, let's break down to random numbers. Say if you're trading a 100K account, 10K account. I'm just using 100K for just whatever. Okay. It doesn't matter if you have 100K. It doesn't matter if you have 5K, 1,000, doesn't matter. Say if I traded, I did a $50,000 in, Target. I did half my portfolio into just a day trade to play it up. Bam. I made about 1%. Okay. Now I'm selling this off down to a 5% position, right? So now I sell $45,000 of it, lock in that profit. And now I only have a $5,000 position, but now I'm no longer focused on this minute time frame. Now I have a 5,000 position that I'm up in. And I'm looking at this like this as on the daily time frame. Now I don't care if it goes down, around, and sets back up because now I could always build up a position if I want to. Which a 5% position in a 100K portfolio, that's actually that's more of like my regular size positions, 5 to 10%. Oh, SMR, yeah. So maybe hopefully that kind of explains a little bit of kind of how I converted to a swing trade. If I'm converting to an overnight hold, you need to know what your position sizing is for your overnight holds. So for example, for me, I have pilot positions at like about 2% to 2.5%. My small positions are around typically 3 to 4. And then my medium size is about 6. And then my full size is about 10%. And most of my 10% positions, they typically come from just the position doing good, right? It's not a 10% position to start. It's typically like a 6% position that goes up and it's like, oh, now it's 10% of my portfolio. Now I got to trim it. That's my like slower growth account, right? That's the one that I take seriously. I'm really managing risk and so forth. And if I feel the need to necessarily push limits, I push limits on more lower beta names where I can have a larger size position. Larger position into it, equity size, but it doesn't really move that much, right? So for example, if I wanted to get long dollars, I can have 50% of my portfolio in dollars and it's not going to really move much. What's up, AP? AP! SMR, okay. Do I think we'll close above the upper expected move for the quarter? Probably. I mean, that's how it looks right now, unless if June brings some news, like Kevin Warsh. Like it, remember, like not last June, I forget what June it was, but there was 2 days or 3 days in a row that were down, and it was like it would slam, right? It would slam us. You know, I forget what June it was. Was it this June? No, that wasn't June. Where was June? It was a while ago. I was on vacation. Was it 2022? I think it was 2022. Yeah, there it is. Right there. Boom, boom, boom. 3 days. Boom, boom, boom. That was minus 10% in 3 days. Yeah, I remember that because I was on vacation. And everyone's like, oh, Michael went on vacation again. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch, Mike. So yeah, it's always possible. The reality is though, I'm not positioning for that. I'm not going to position for it. The way that I position for that is I have my stops in place. I'm playing with the trend, and if I get stopped out and it goes again, and if it goes just bam, the market comes, it hits, and like, oh my gosh, oh, you didn't short, you're stupid. No, then I'd be looking for long position. Right? That's what I do. How many portfolios do I manage? My accounts. Well, it was 3, and then 4. Like 4, something like that. Now 3. Well, and then I'm not counting like my day trading stuff, but like the ones that I actually like the main account is like 2. You know, those like the main ones that I actually gotta pay attention to, that I manage, right? That I'm like in there and I'm trading actively. Some of them I just set forget, don't care, let it go. I always tell people this. I'm like, you know, when being involved in the markets, right? You're involved in the markets. People think that there's like, only one strategy, one time frame. You're either bearish or you're bullish. But the reality of it is, like, if you want to be good in the markets, you should kind of have exposure. Like say, okay, so you have your net worth is 100%, right? It's always going to be, 100%. You can lose 50% of your net worth, and that's now your new 100% is 50%. So just say your net worth, right? You're at 100%, right? You go some into businesses, you go some into what's it called. But if you were to like wrap up into the markets, right? Say you get 3 buckets, right? You get investing, right? You have your investing bucket, boom, investing. Then if you want to get a little bit more involved, which I would say if you're going to get involved in markets and be more active, I'd probably focus more on the swing trading perspective, because then you can position size a little bit easier, and you're not like that's an N, investing. It's a little bit easier to swing trade because you give it time and space to make the move, versus day trading where it's a lot more active. So if I were to like break this up into buckets, right, you're obviously not going to do your 100% net worth into all of this stuff. But when I think of investing, it's like if you could do 15 to 20% of your whatever in your investment accounts over time, or every paycheck, or whatever the case is, bam. When it comes to swing trading, like maybe 10% of your net worth, maybe. If that, like, right, it really depends, because if you have $1 trillion net worth, then 10% is kind of a large size, so I wouldn't get involved. So you got to kind of work those numbers. But if your net worth is $1 million and you're totally debt free, you don't have any obligations or anything, and you want to swing trade $100,000 account, okay. Sometimes though, I would even say maybe more like 5%. And then day trading would be 5%, maybe lower. And this is more income generation. So think of day trading as like, hey, you make some income and you spend that money, whether it's on a new backyard, like I did, a new backyard, or you say, oh, now I'm going to add that into my investment account, right? Or I'm going to like do it for more swing trading. Because you might be able to take this 5% because it's higher beta, and you might be able to like say double it, right? Now all of a sudden it's 10%. So you don't want to lose that money because it's so high, high risk. Day trading is a lot higher risk because you're in and out of positions, you're more active and so forth. But say if you make $500 and you put that into a S&P 500, you buy a share of the S&P 500 forever. You get the dividend on that forever. As long as you don't sell it, right? So you move into your investment account and then you kind of move things around. I like to use the prop firms for the day trading now because it's just like, it really is insane what you can do with those. I gotta like really walk through my talk track and how I kind of go about that, because they're also like, the reason why they're popping up like yogurt shops is because everyone fails at them and they make a crap ton of money from people failing is what they do. But, you know, if you can go on a little bit of a run and just really hone in on your internal like mental and just get out of the position and not hold on to losers, not add to losers, you got to really understand why people fail at them. And you can really reverse kind of do this, and you can turn a little bit of money into a lot of money, actually a lot easier than you could on an options account or like a day trading account or whatever with your own money, and you can risk a lot less. I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? I was at the point where I was like, dude, I needed, like, I remember when I was trading Tradeify and I spent, you know, $2,500, which, okay, if you have a 100K account, right? Say if you're swing trading or whatever, you have a 100K account and you're like, I'm going to take $2,500 of that account, right? And I'm going to buy these prop firm accounts that I have no idea if I'm going to get paid out or if I'm going to lose. If you lose this money, how much did you actually lose in your portfolio, right? 2.5%. So if you have $1,000 trading account, one, you probably are risking too much on various trades. Like, you're probably not doing a 6% position on $1,000, which means your risk is increased. But if you say, hey, I'm going to go buy a Lucid trading account for $100, right? That's 10%. And you might be able to turn this $100 into one single payout of $1,000. So that 10% just 10x'd, right? Or you find an account that's like maybe $50 for an eval and you're trading $1,000 account. That's why, that's the power of it. But that's how I would look at that, right? Versus going in with a $1,000 account and you say, I'm going to put $1,000 on this options that expires tomorrow. And it's like you hit it for double, which is not even that good. Just so you know, if you make 100% on an options trade, it's really not that good, because you like, think about it, think through it, because you're going to probably do it again. And most of the time, the higher probability is if you're just doing a directional options trade, you're going to lose 100% of that. So all you're doing is making the 100%. But if you do it again and you lose that trade, you lose 100%. So you can potentially look into spreads, or you can play, well, I guess now you can potentially do intraday trades on smaller accounts, which I'm very excited to do on a small account, given that the PDT rule is leaving. Just so you all know, I was practicing a smaller account thing, and unfortunately, the way that I do it was smaller trades, and this was before the PDT rule thing was coming through, and then we got the news like a month later, and the account was like a 250, 300% in the matter of just 5 or 6 trading sessions over the course of a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I got to get this thing over 25K to do it. But I was like, I'm not risking that type of money on trading like this. So I'm really happy to see what this whole trading, the PDT thing comes off. And then I'll share what that looks like and what I was doing. It was options. It was S&P 500. That's all. And I was looking at like 60 deltas at a certain time. That was it. And I was getting like 20% gain, 20% gain, 30% gain, 50% gain, 100% gain. I'm like, oh my God, this is funny. The unfortunate thing is, like, the execution sucked, because I was like sitting on my mobile phone going like this. I'm like, oh, execute. Swing trading, the best start. Yeah. I like swing trading. That's what I prefer. Swing trading and investing. It's my favorite. I like day trading. But when I have the money on day trading, I take that money out and it's spent right away, all the time. I can't build up a day trading account for the life of me, because I take the money out and I use it. I used to not do that. I used to try to build it and build it and build it. And then I would lose some. And I was like, I'm just going to just take the money out. And then I started like feeling it and it was real. I was like, holy cow. Like, right. I made $200. And people are like, you only made $200. I'm like, I just bought a new pair of sunglasses that I still have for 4 years later from that same $200. I went on a trip, right? To like, I remember going to like, somewhere down south, like Huntington Beach or something like that, or Newport Beach or something like that. My wife, we had set up like a nice hotel, nice everything. It was like a couple thousand for the whole trip. And it was like, that was right from the swing trading account or right from the day trading account. I'm like, and then I remember that now forever versus, you make, whatever amount and then you lose it and you feel like crap. So day trading, I would definitely spend the money. Swing trading, I would spend the money too, but I sometimes swing trade on my retirement account, so I don't really do anything with that. But yeah, multi-week, multi-month. Sometimes my swing trading is only like a few days. I do prefer, when I swing trade, my goal is to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of risk. For investing, I don't really have a risk management strategy. Just so you know, I just buy things. Yeah. And it's typically ETFs, like S&P 500. I don't think about it. I just buy it. Yeah, those are like retirement things. Like, it is what it is. I don't care. Go down, go up, whatever. I don't try to time all that stuff, even though that I have an ability to do that and I can do that in swing trading. But the idea is I'm thinking of it in terms of shares. Oh, I own XYZ shares. It just works for me mentally doing that. Because, it goes down, say, it goes down like 8, 20, 10%, 20% or whatever. And you're like, oh no, but it's also like, I don't need the money and I'm still buying it. And if it goes higher or goes down for a longer period of time and the world blows up, okay, like, it's not like the only thing that I have going, right? So I always think of, this is where like a lot of people, like they get so worried about the economy, but they should be worried about their economy, right? Their four walls, right? Pay your debt off, right? Consumer debt, typically, auto debt, whatever, your debt. Make sure you have an emergency savings, pretty simple stuff, that can, build that up. I like a big emergency savings. It took me a while to build it, but I have it. And then you have your regular expenses, right? Like your regular bills, all that stuff. Typically, you want your emergency savings to cover like 6 months of that, maybe even more if you can. And then you have your regular stuff that's not maybe necessarily, well, I guess it's an expense, but food, right? You just like basically get your four walls, like your household in order. Your economy is good, because if the economy falls out, I used to call it like the rose. I forget what it stood for, but it was a retirement account, then your opportunity fund, your savings account, and then I think it was like experiences or something like that. Like 4 different like buckets of savings and stuff like that. So you have your retirement account, you forget about it. Opportunity fund is cool because if the world falls apart and you have an opportunity fund, you can execute those opportunity funds into things. And then like savings is just your emergency savings, and then entertainment budget is more of like, where you can have fun, right? And if you have all that in order and the world's falling apart and things are going, south, at least your household is all taken care of. And that's the most important thing. And then you could talk about all the other economy stuff and opportunities and where they're at, and you're not in the panic, right? That's what it's all about, is preparing. Let's take a look at the markets. I'm just rambling off. Everyone's like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, so let's look at Amazon. Is Amazon touching its lower weekly applied move right now? Hey, it did. Just came down to it. Almost to its eyeball way. So for me, when I looked at Amazon, it's a good looking chart and it's pulling back. I would actually kind of like it underneath its weekly expected move. Thanks, Christopher. Make me feel a little bit better. And if you were trying to buy the dip, so the way I'd approach it is I wouldn't be able, like, you can't execute a full position necessarily like on a move down, because you don't know where this move is going to stop. But being that it's at its lower weekly implied move, or maybe it can get back down here and under it, you can maybe do a starter position and then be like, then you kind of hoping on a starter position, you kind of hope that it goes a little bit further and harder against you, right? Secretly, because if it goes right up and away, you're like, no, I only did a little bit, right? So starter position makes the most sense. And I always, if I'm starting a position on a move that's going down, it needs to be in a bullish trend. And Amazon would be in that bullish trend. Google is kind of doing the same situation. It's pulling in a little bit off the lows, but not really by its weekly implied move. It's more at its daily implied move right now. So yeah, I'd be looking for the lower weekly, taking a breather. And Amazon came down today to it. Meta came down to it today. Here, this is an easier screen to kind of see. Let me go back over here. Microsoft is near its upper weekly implied move. I'm happy for anybody that caught Microsoft. I didn't trade it. I haven't been too active on my swing trading, but Amazon, we tagged it. There you go. Okay. Like I said, I would prefer it to be lower, but the market expected this to happen, and you can't even see it. Sorry. The market expected for this to happen. Not on day one. So it's outside of the market's expectation for the day, but it's in expectations for the week. And we still got a long week left, obviously. 4 more trading sessions after today. Meta, down there, right? And we're rotating, right? And look at Apple. Apple's coming in too. Tesla, not too far off. And then NVIDIA, right on point. Like, this is what we were saying. Like, NVIDIA was down. Perhaps if we're going to get breathers in all these names, we're going to get rotations. And NVIDIA right there, bam, smacking back up to the weekly implied move. Anybody take the NVIDIA trade from Trade Ideas by any chance? I can understand why you wouldn't want to, because, all the semiconductors were vertical and NVIDIA was going down, right? But, it's up decent today. Hi, thanks for everything you do. Really appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Osprey. NVIDIA to weekly expected move. Yep. NVIDIA is approaching high of day. Yeah, it just legitimately tagged its weekly expected move. Whoa. What was that? Ghost print. The ghost candle. The blue oyster? What's that? Meta levels for the week. Meta expected move was 608.67, the lower one, 650.635 to the upper. Yeah, we did talk about IGV a little bit earlier. A lot of the software names we talked about on a video a while ago, we were talking about like bottoms in the market, and we're looking at a lot of the software names, how they were doing these, bullish divergences. I don't know if you maybe watch that, and potential double bottoms. And, I think it was actually right around this day. Actually, it was probably this day that we talked about it, 4/13. So you can go back and watch a video, and we talked about a lot of the names that were setting up, and we're getting the move, right? There's a breakout. Now, I don't chase this, right? I did play some software names, and I even played a little bit of this, but I didn't hold it. So you're getting a lot of moves there. So, I'm in Duolingo. This one looks like crap. But we're getting above the year-to-date VWAP, right? So if we can actually hold and actually break this little kind of saucer bottom, maybe that opens the door for like a 130, 140, which is a big move. And it tightened up over here, and we'll see. Microsoft was also part of that list. It was tightening up. It held the VWAP, and then we saw a nice big pop there. I guess that falls within the software kind of name. do I close? Do you balance your account? I mean, I have a CPA that does all my stuff for me, and I owe a lot in taxes. Pretty much, this last year was effing ridiculous, like a lot. It didn't help that I did all those prop firm earnings, but then again, I'm okay with paying a lot in taxes if I'm making the money. Because a lot of the times I spend the money. If I'm making day trading money, I'm spending it. I mean, I keep some on the side for taxes and stuff, which is like what 30-ish%, somewhere around there. And then my investment accounts are kind of tax incentive accounts. I don't really get too wrapped up in the tax stuff. Like I have my tax account is on retainer, so he's every single month I'm talking to him. We balance our books every single month for. I mean, it's not just my trading. He does my business. He does my wife's business. Well, technically our business. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Hold on a second. Microsoft looks like it's coming up to that upper weekly. I AP I deal with I deal with wash sales. It hasn't affected me though. Because on my day trading account or my swing trade, my most of my accounts are closed out by any sort of like renewal of year. S&P 500, man. I'm just looking at this chart right now, and it's like, boom. Really does not look bearish at all, in the slightest. It looks like it's just gearing up to break out again. Not much room here on the gamma levels though. That 59, the 590 level on SPX, we're basically at. The only thing that I can think of is that it can be pushed through for about 10 points higher. So the risk to reward is kind of getting a little skewed here. And I'm not trading anymore, but the only thing I can think of is if we can break through 590, you go up to 600. But is it really worth that squeeze? You know, for me, it's not. For anybody else, it might be. And the only other option there would be if we can squeeze up to 600, maybe that creates a short opportunity for just like if it gets over 600 and then you play it back down in through. That's the only thing that I can think of really right now. Other moves that were a lot more clear to me now that were kind of like chopped, you know? Berkshire. Yeah, this looks pretty toppy. Man, I don't, very, very interesting. Like this thing is getting cracked today. Holy moly. It's almost down to its lower weekly implied move. See down here at 465. It's a big name. Like I don't know what all the holdings are exactly, but I'm assuming that Apple, right, is a big piece of it. Right? Don't they own a big portion of Apple? And Apple's lower here. And Apple's been doing very good, but Apple's finally coming in a little bit here. Your market today is brought to you in part by NVIDIA and Broadcom, the semiconductors. Look at Broadcom breaking out of its kind of consolidation here. Somebody asked me about this the other day, and I just said it was a consolidation. It's not bearish. It's not bearish because of where it came from, you know. Oracle, that's a whopper. This was another one that I think that was on that bottom list. We were looking at the positive divergences that were forming. Then it broke the little double bottom here. What are some other names? Cisco Systems was doing a nice bullish consolidation. This one I feel like could pop a little bit higher, and then I'd be a little bit more careful with it. But that's holding up. Intel chopping around, no surprise there. The implied volatility in Intel was absolutely incredible. Let's see what that's at now. Still really high. Damn, probably go up 6%. Wouldn't be surprised. If SPY were to come down to expect to move, SOXS could rocket. Yeah, probably, because semiconductors have been holding this market up. So if you get, if you hit semiconductors get tagged, yeah, that's going to be you'll watch for rotations. But yeah, semiconductors itself, I'll use SOXX, just a bullish consolidation. Kind of looks like it wants to go to 600. The semiconductor ETF, the inverse, SOXS, I've been keeping an eye on it. And I even traded a few. I traded it over here, and then I was out pretty quickly. This one is just, yeah, you're probably going to end up seeing like 100% gainers in this thing probably at some point. Obviously, right? Like it'll just, like even from this low to this high, that's, 36%. And I say that pretty confidently because the semiconductors every year, they pull back like 16 to 20% for the last 8 years. Right? Every year they do. They even did technically this year, I think, too. They did it over here. 17%. So, and then over here, right? What was this? That was 10%. So you pop up a little bit higher. Maybe you can take a shot at it. But the only thing is, like, when you have the trend so strong, when you look at something like SOXS, the decay on it is pretty wicked. So you got to really time it out good. And, right now it feels like it can kind of go down a little bit lower. So I don't feel confident. I like buying more of like the extended move, like it like goes. Or what I like to do is like hop over here and I go to like SOXX. And I'm like, okay, maybe if it gets up to the weekly implied move, then I'll do it. Rocket Lab. Wait, before I do that, what's Planet Lab doing? Planet Lab's pulling back. RKLB. Below its earnings VWAP. Yeah, that one's getting tagged today. So remember, strong move up. And now we're getting some intensive, like maybe profit taking. The volume's not really that high. I guess we have a lot of time left in the day, but Rocket Lab is definitely probably more of a 2 standard deviation move, maybe even a 3 standard deviation move. Let's pull up Duolingo, by the way, hit a 2 standard deviation move to the upside today at 120.20. That was right here. Rost, R-O-S-T, hit a 2 standard deviation move to the downside. That's a pretty bullish looking chart. Earnings, and bam, now you're getting a pullback into a 2 standard deviation lower. So these are the type of names where I'm like, oh, if you're trying to, buy a consolidation or pullback that's in bullish context, that could be a starter. What name was I? So MSOS, load up on load up on SOXS. Yeah, everyone does, and you know that everyone is doing that because look at the volume. You're talking like this one day over here at like 500 million. Right now we're at 225 million. Look at the volume on this thing. Everyone wants to short it. MSOS. Yeah, I did actually like a lot of these cannabis type names. Yeah, this one's looking pretty good. These ones do move on really news headlines. It's always kind of annoying, so you got to be very careful with like sizing, but TBTIF, I forget what the ticker is. Yeah, this one looked really good. I missed this, but this is GLASF. This one had a nice little kind of cupping pattern, and then we broke up to the upside here. This is just another cannabis name. Dang it, what was I looking up and I got sidetracked? Always happens. Son of a gun. Was it Rocket Lab? I don't think so. Oh yeah, it was Rocket Lab. It was the expected move for Rocket Lab. What did I just do? Did I type it in wrong or is it not? Oh yeah, I typed it in wrong. RKLB. Here we go. Lower 125.18. So it's underneath its 2 standard deviation. A 3 standard deviation move would 116.03. That'd be pretty crazy. I don't think it's getting there right now, but nice pullback today, pretty strong. And then the daily 2 standard deviation move was 125.18. So 125.18 is right here. Like I said earlier, sometimes I like to play buy under the 2 standard deviation move. And then play it back up to the 2 standard deviation move or potentially even daily VWAP. Got to always check to see if there's news, though, that's driving this. Space stock rally gets big, reality check. So, yeah, there's some news around stuff. I don't know about this name specifically. Rocket Laptop is tumbling. Here's what's happening. The space build-out narrative, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. It's not like a downgrade or anything like that. Just, news, hit the tape. So for something like this, I'll probably put this on the radar because if for whatever reason we can get another daily 2 standard deviation move to the downside tomorrow, I'd probably be on that. Or look how this looks today, like towards the close. If it can hold the lows, then I would be on radar for tomorrow to see where it opens up. Could there be a play on meta? Yeah, there definitely could be a play on meta. Meta, I was kind of saying from a weekly perspective, though, like underneath the weekly implied move. Yeah, 2 standard deviation daily move would be a big move for meta. The only thing is with meta, the daily chart, it hasn't really gone anywhere. So you really do need those big outsized moves. And this really isn't one. It's like just coming back into this range. So when I looked at Rocket Lab, it was kind of straight up and now it's coming down. I feel a little bit more confident on that because you think of it in terms of like an average buyer. Like if they miss the move, you're probably going to have people try to buy the dip, right? Whereas this, it's like it hasn't been going anywhere. So you don't got that like eyes on sort of like the prize. But it is a huge name, which is also important, right? So for me, I would say I would like to see this thing, more towards the 600 marker. And then I'd be like, okay, now I'll play back in to the weekly implied move. Or I'd start a position and say, okay, now if we can get some continuation to the downside and see what happens. But it's not quite like Rocket Lab, and it's not quite like the target one that we pulled up earlier where it was underneath it and then popped back up. Rocket Lab, right? This is sitting at lows. I wouldn't be surprised to see this at some point today. Try to come back to the 2 standard deviation move. It looks like like Planet Labs is kind of looking, these space names. Look at UFO. They're all kind of looking dead today because of, news. Oh, whoops. Why do I have Qs up? NQ. There we go. BBWI, Bed Bath & Body Works. That one got on my radar for earnings, and the earnings got hung up at year-to-date VWAP, and it's pulling back in a little bit. Today, Dick's. Are some of these quantum names taking a little bit of a breather again? Hey, they're kind of letting off a little bit. Okay. I was waiting to see if these little quantum names would kind of just chill out for a second. This one actually did. QUBT. Actually, from an intraday perspective, it's kind of just pulling in nicely here. What about QBTS? That one looks a little bit more aggressive. That one's back to daily VWAP. I hear my kid playing with a toy that repeats whatever he says. I might need to just take a pilot position in this QUBT. I think I need one just to have some exposure to this quantum stuff if it wants to go up. QUBT. They have a 2x? That's crazy. I'll just do 1%. This is going to be tiny. Then maybe I can get a little bit better positioning. I did a starter position here on quantum. Yeah, we're definitely frothy up here. Well, I guess in what exactly? Because definitely the market, the index products are definitely frothy, but there's a lot of names that aren't frothy. Like for example, like that's what I was looking at these quantum names, right? They're not like I wouldn't say this is frothy. I mean, they move 20% a day, so ignore that part. But they're kind of just consolidating here. But yeah, like Q's, right? Semiconductors is frothy, right? Obviously, but they keep going. Like Q's is still going up. Definitely frothy. I wouldn't start a new position in like Q index by any means, right? But there's some names that make sense. I was watching for the quantum to kind of take a little bit of a breather, and I was like, I'll take a starter position because if this thing wants to fly up to 20, I can be a part of that. And if it comes back down here, like right, that's what percentage loss is this? 25%. I'm not risking 1% or 2% of my portfolio by doing that. But if it wants to take up to 20 or maybe even new another high, that's pretty cool. I'll be down for that. Nokia. What's the ticker on Nokia? Is it NOK? I can't remember. Yeah, NOK. Yeah, I mean, this is moving like BlackBerry. Right? Look at BlackBerry. It's crazy. You just got to watch for consolidation because if you execute new positions up here, like, yeah, you're part of like a move that's higher. Like that makes the most sense. But where's your risk levels? That's where you got to be paying most attention to. Today would have been a good day for Nokia, actually. Today would have been a good day if you brought buying through this high because you saw a nice move strong and then you pull back on lighter volume. So notice the volume here, strong move up, boom, 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 boom. And then the volume dried up on the pullback. So that would actually been a very, very strategic play there based off of just trend and volume. What does Nokia do? I have no idea. I don't know what they do anymore. AI, data centers, probably, or talking about that. They used to be phones, right? Still are, I guess. Network infrastructure, mobile networks, cloud network services. Nokia bought out Bell Labs. We're pushing. I would be watching out for the 600 marker. Watch for that 600, not even on SPX and I would say and on NQ. And on NQ. It's pushing. So, if we go back to what I said, the trade would be if we can break through 590 to 600, okay, which is, a little bit not the greatest risk to reward, but that would be the trade there. And then through 600 to trade back down to 600 or lower, cross through. And then you have 3,600 on NQ. I mean, it's a stone's throw away. It'd be very nice if you break through this 600 or even break through this 600 and then you get a plus 1,000 tick reading. And then you could feel very confident for scalping some very quickly to the downside. So let's see if we can get up there. I might even be setting something up for that. Let's see what it looks like. It's going to have to really, really, really make sense, though, because I do not want to lose anything. Not after the run that I did today. No. Yeah, no. Okay, there we go. Gotta always double check your settings, man. They change your settings. It's kind of creepy. Wait, what? Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. So backflip when it's like that. So two standard deviation for what exactly? On NQ? We're not on NQ. On the daily? What are you looking at exactly? Because NQ, we're well within the daily implied move, just one standard deviation. The daily expected move for NQ is up here at 694. Are you sure you're on the right contract? Maybe double check. Let me know what you're seeing, and we can try to figure it out. Yeah, Google's taking a little bit of a breather. I'm fine with that. I was hoping to see Google maybe more towards its lower weekly implied move, but it's very strong, right? So we're just getting a little bit of a breakdown, like, pullback. And this came actually from kind of a reversal type candle over here. So for me, if you're like trying to buy the dip in Google, you'll probably see a bounce here. It came into its lower daily implied move, respected it, but I just kind of prefer it to be lower. So maybe at the lower weekly implied move, if we can get a little bit more of a hit, but it makes sense too if you want to start a position at lower daily implied moves on this much strength on a big name. I wouldn't press it too hard. You give it time and space, but so I'm looking for 600 here on NQ or whatever, maybe S&P 500 goes to 7,600 first. I'm looking at the gamma levels. That was an important gamma level. Is this time too. We're holding above 590. If we get below 590, probably is going to take its back seat, but daily regression line, like standard move from something different, not the implied move. Intraday stuff. Yeah, you can potentially find little, moves within that. I'm not too familiar with doing like the regression lines and stuff like that, but when it comes to expected moves, it's actually option positioning. So I pay a lot more attention to what the market expects. It's a great forward-looking kind of indicator there. Needless to say, if you're looking at it from a daily chart, it's very extended, right? It is, but extended could remain extended. So that's why I kind of hone in on the daily implied moves, weekly implied moves, and so forth. I pretty much only would like to execute at like those bigger like key levels that the market anticipates. So if it's very extended, right? Like, so for example, semiconductors, we talked about it, like semiconductors are extended, but that doesn't mean that I want to just buy SOXS or short the semiconductors. But if we just got up to the upper weekly implied move, perhaps I would execute back into that actually. Take a smaller position because the market reached to where it expected for the week. It's already frothy. That means to me, like that's an opportunity for it to take a breather. Not that it's going to crash, but maybe, take a breather. And on the flip of that, if it actually dropped underneath its weekly implied move, I'd probably be looking at SOXL for a bounce, because of the strength. No breathers. No breathers are allowed. Straight up. Boring. Some news hitting the tape. NVIDIA up 5% on the day, just doodling up at its weekly implied move. Like just holding within the boundaries of it so far. Yeah, Google is daily. Apple's getting close to its lower weekly implied move. Actually, this is probably what's bringing the market down a bit here. is Apple keeps on kind of getting tagged. I'd be fine with getting an Apple position more lower on the recent run up. Microsoft holding up on daily VWAP, like just like it's a wall. Look at this thing. Look at this sideways shot. Like it didn't even move. Like, what is this? It's gonna give a break. Amazon holding lows of the day. Tesla's almost there, kind of. I could definitely do it. It's not too far off. Actually, a lot of these stocks look kind of weak, which makes me think the NQ is going to take a breather. We're still holding 590 though there. I'm just put a VWAP to that. Okay, it's testing this low VWAP. Perhaps break through this and maybe see a kickback and see if it can maybe make a U-turn. Got some news hitting the tape. We're about 3 points from that 600. For SPX, not NQ. I looked at the GEX levels for Microsoft a little bit earlier. It is rather bullish. I have to pull it up again because I don't have it in front of me though. Actually, I wonder, does Gamma Labs do that now? SPX strike? Wait. For some reason I thought I saw Microsoft in there. Maybe it's the AI version. I can pull it up on it. You can pull it actually technically up in the, if you're in the Discord, you can pull it up, unusual whales. You can type in the command there and get it. I wanted to wait here. I want to see if we can turn around and potentially go back for that 600 still. But I want to see some strength. What does Microsoft? Oh, no mind. Amazon's looking like it's going to break to a new low on the day. Broadcom getting hung up at its daily implied move to a T. Microsoft 0 DTE. Oh, a lot of that, probably a lot of it. A lot of all of this is 0 DTE stuff. You know, you go into here and you look at, you know, volumes are pretty crazy. Pretty wild. Still nothing crazy on the tick charts. Let's take a look at market net flow. Here's that kind of like how we said, maybe potentially a U-turn. You can also apply a VWAP to the high and try to get back above the high candle. Right? You want to get back above that. It'll look a little bit nicer, but market net flow. We did hit the upper gamma range, which was 758 on SPY, and it took a little bit of a breather there. Which was that exact high. MicroStrategy. It's kind of moving with Bitcoin here. Seeing a little bit of a bid back. This one came to its lower weekly implied move. Seeing, now it's at highs of the day. What's Bitcoin doing? Is Bitcoin moving with this too? Yeah, Bitcoin came down to its lower weekly implied move. Ended up getting there, and we're seeing a little bit of a bounce back from that. So the space, the way that they're doing the 0 DTEs, well, at least I would say more professionals doing it versus just buying calls or puts, is they're probably setting up like spreads. So for example, like, um, well, it's not going to work for tomorrow, but like if I go to like Microsoft, right? And maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow's price action, maybe it goes higher, right? Or whatever. And then towards the end of day, they might look at the one DTE out and say, oh, the expected move is, $5 or whatever it is at that time. They say, I think it's going to tag the lower daily implied move. So they might be able to set up like a butterfly or something like that around that expected move. And the thing is, if you do that, you're like risking an exact amount, right? And you lose 100% of it if it's wrong, whatever. But if you're right, you can make like 200-300% on some of these that hit. So you don't need to be right that often. And that's a pretty decent strategy around these zero DTEs. Oh, thanks, Space. That's awesome. Yeah, looks like the market's pulling in here after reaching its prior high. At least SPY is. SPX is. NQ didn't quite make the U-turn, so this one's taking a little bit of a breather. If we can pull into maybe the 25, it saw some price action around here. We'll see. No real trade. And we're back there under 590, kind of just at that 590, which is that key kind of gamma level. So couldn't quite get up to that 600. Still nothing bad. Oh, nice. All right, there goes NVIDIA's new low of the day. All right, let's watch some of these names here. Oh, it almost hit the new low of the day. It basically matched it. And then Apple. Okay, there's the new low of the day for NVIDIA. Or sorry, for Amazon. And then Apple looks like it's going for its lower weekly implied move right now. Tesla, it's looking kind of bearish how it's set up, but it's still pretty far off. And then Meta did tag its lower implied move, and it could go a little bit further down here. But a lot of the sell side now is pretty big already, and we're at these kind of levels where the market might settle a bit. So for those that are maybe looking at NQ is holding up really well for that. Like, wow. Thank you, semiconductors. NVIDIA ain't budging. NVIDIA looks like it's trying to break the weekly expected move. Yep. Out of some, into some. Yeah, I'm in Amazon. I think I corrected myself though when I said that already. I mean, anybody looking for Amazon, this is getting finally a pullback. Not too shabby. I would say under 260. I wouldn't even mind a starter position or more down here. Because then you could play it up to the upper weekly expected move. So if I go into, let me go back over to my megas. Yeah, so here's Amazon floating underneath its weekly implied move. Not the I-vol range, but the weekly. And I kind of like the I-vols right now more because they're pricing a little bit more volatility. But needless to say, once you hit a weekly implied move, a lot of the times you come back to it. So if we can get outside of it a little bit more, that'd be great. And Apple's not too far off. Meta's basically on it. Finally seeing some of these names take a breather. little bit too trigger shy right now, though. It'd be nice to just see just a little bit more of a flush, like a little bit more of like a hit, maybe some volume that supports it. Kind of capitulatory type look. But we're probably nearing that range here for done for day on Amazon's sell side. Thanks, Itchy. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, right back there. Oh, man, I wish you just go a little bit further, you know? Getting a little bit of relief on the bounce. And then I want to just check back into market net flow. It's not a bearish flow for the market. It is for some of these names, but okay. Say taco's coming. Feel like that's every day, right? S&P 500 on the 15-minute time frame. The SPY, all we're doing here is just consolidating above a 5-day rising moving average, and no move today this week, this day for the start of this week. Wide open daily expected move, and we did tag a key gamma exposure level, which was that 75.90. And then we have this level at 7,600, which is also a big one too. So big level. LPTH. What's LPTH? Let me think. Take a look. Light Path Technologies. Actually, that name sounds familiar. Did I have this on a list? I can't remember. A little choppy, it feels like. Kind of interesting, but it's not a bad looking chart. Kind of broke out of this range, and we're back testing right now. I don't know anything about it. Let me look how it trades intraday. No, it's a little choppy, but fine overall. Yeah, I mean, it's recently broke a high, so you're getting higher highs, higher lows, and you had a base breakout, and it's holding. So you can probably, you can set up trades there. That makes sense from a risk to reward standpoint. Rocket Lab is on the move. Yeah, so take a look. So Rocket Lab, right? We were breaking this thing or whatever, the 2 standard deviation move, and what we said was wouldn't be surprised if we try to go back for that 2 standard deviation daily expected move, maybe the daily VWAP, and we're right back there. We said the same thing about Target. What did Target end up doing? Underneath this and then kind of coming back up, and we said Target potentially around there, or whatever makes sense. This is all these levels, by the way. These red lines. I'm showing you these because they're just alerts that are being sent out via the Asherbot in the Discord. It just tells us when we have expected moves that are hit, and it gives you it's not like an alert to buy or sell. It's more of a notification. That's what I should call them, notifications. It tells you and then I look up the name and I'm like, hey, is it in a bullish trend and pulling down? And then we're getting this and it's based off of no real news. And then there's opportunities there. Right? Oh, okay. Just seeing what rates we're doing there. All right, Amazon's about there. get under that 260 area. Let me go back over to Meta. Yeah, Meta's coming in. Here comes Meta. Oh, man. Here it comes. Here comes Meta. And then Apple, still kind of far off. Tesla. Here comes Meta. Little bit more. A wee bit more. Although I'd be more interested in Amazon than anything because Meta's just flat. And then Apple too, if Apple can come down a little bit more. It is month start too, which is kind of interesting to see where flows are going to the beginning of the month. It's like profit taking, new month. So it does feel a little sketch, but also if we're just looking at the stock as an individual and you're seeing it move already outside of expectations for an entire week and it's in bullish context, it's pretty decent. Pretty decent for people that want to look to do starters. I prefer it to be outside of it, so we'll see if we can get it. And then Qs are just holding up. My goodness. I feel like these should be flat on the day to down with what's going on here, but it's NVIDIA and Broadcom. I guess Microsoft too, but yeah, they're coming down a little bit here. Microsoft's coming back into its daily implied move. It's definitely NVIDIA. NVIDIA's at the upper weekly, which is insane to me. It is the biggest name, right? Biggest name in the market. And it's at its upper weekly. But we got a lot of these names that are at their lower weekly implied moves, and the market's still holding up. So that's pretty impressive. Pretty cool. The tick is just going higher. So we're probably getting rotations into just various names here. Energy is up on the day. Tech is up on the day. Towards the bottom of the list, we have utilities getting clobbered. Discretionary getting clobbered. That's to be expected. Because we're looking over here at Amazon. Yeah, it's semiconductors, man. Semis. Makes me think NQ is just going to rip. Damn it. It did. Damn, it did. Now it's back at that VWAP. All right, let me check in chat. Tick charts. I look at the tick charts in a couple of ways. I look at divergences and then also extended, like extreme readings, like minus 1,000 or plus 1,000. But you get those typically when you're in negative gamma. So you get like very little amount of those readings during the day if you're in positive gamma, unless we get some sort of correlated move, which we haven't been seeing, right? It's been a stock picker's tape. We have the lowest correlations and implied correlations, actually. But that's how I do it. I'll scalp like minus 1,000s, maybe even plus 1,000s if I'm feeling it. Dang it, Amazon. I wanted to see you under here. Still might be there. Guess I got to give it time. Tesla honestly feels heavy. But man, if these ones start to just like break out a bit more, like so if Amazon starts to bounce a little bit and Tesla like starts to break back up to daily VWAP, and Amazon at least holds it together. And Apple, even if these rode back up to daily VWAP, NQ goes right back up. Right back up. Yeah, NVIDIA daily chart. I have NVIDIA on the daily. I put it on trade ideas in the daily. Yeah. That was like a no-brainer for me. Although I get why people wouldn't want to take the trade because like all the semiconductors were doing bad and NVIDIA was maybe leading the way to the downside. But my thought was simple. It was like, if we start to rotate out some of these other names, they might just go right back to NVIDIA. So I took a position in NVIDIA when I posted that. And did you see that funky stuff happen though at the end of the month? They sold off NVIDIA at the end of the month. It was like positioning. It was like window dressing. You see that over here? The last trading day of the month? They dumped it. Boom. Minus like 3% into the close. But then you look at like names like, what was it? Was it AVGO or what names did they pump? Yeah, look at, then they were like, oh, but we need to show that we're like into Broadcom. Because Broadcom's been doing good. Funky end of month window dressing, to say the least. Saw that on a couple of names. Video was a good idea. Well, thanks. Microsoft ended up playing out really well too. That was fast and sudden though. Gary. So Gary, I have AstroBot set up for basically the daily, weekly, monthly. Honestly, it's the monthly expected moves give you a good range, a good idea. But they're more like, I think the weeklies are the most important. Dailies are very helpful. Hold on. Okay, and then as far as like SPX goes, I manually provide those from the options chain for like the yearly expected move, right? Like I do that now. It gives you an idea of what the market's pricing in for the year, and it's kind of cool to see that. But once again, I focus most on the weeklies, and then I also provide the quarterlies for that SPX. I do that manually, and you can plot those levels too, because I provide the code for that and the indicator to plot it. But the AsherBot is daily, weekly, monthly. And you could plot the levels too if you DM the bot. Yeesh. Yeesh. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting little sell-off in NVIDIA at the close of the month. I didn't think too much of it though, only because of it's the end of month, you get these final moves, it's whatever. And the big players play at the end of day, just so y'all know, right? They don't play at the very beginning. Very rarely. They'll make their moves at the end of day. Sometimes during the day, it's hit or miss, but you got your morning little crazy kids jumping in there and like doing all their 0 DTEs and scalping and doing crazy stuff. And then towards the end of the day, you get a lot of volume, but a lot of like bigger players towards the end of the day. Positioning and stuff. I still wouldn't be surprised to see a 600 tag. I mean, it's a little bit far off now. We've got plenty of time. Spy's head is getting bumped. So you need to see some of these laggards pick up a little bit off the floor and they're kind of just at their little happy place right now for the week. Amazon's at the weekly implied move. Apple bounced a little bit. I was hoping to see that a little bit lower. Then I might have been like, okay, I guess I'll try. Tesla's still looking pretty weak, but they're catching a little bit of a bid. Nothing crazy. These can easily still come down. But if they do start picking back up to daily VWAPs, I would imagine, and if Nvidia holds here, so these names just start catching a little bit of a move, that helps press us up a little bit higher, helps NQ out a little bit, get a little bit more of a pop. But you're just kind of at this key gamma kind of inflection point there, right? The 75.90 and then 7600 at pretty much the day, and we're kind of right there. So you're kind of just playing in rough waters. Rough waters. I think I'm going to call it quits for the stream. I need to take a break, and I'm trying to do a video out today, so I think we went over enough. That was fun. Fun stream. I'm going to call it quits. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Alrighty then. Make sure to check out the brief. Hey, see you, Exotic. See you, Cam, No Qualms, Gary, Osprey, AP, Vinny, Jen, Space, Juan, Gary, Itchy, Mark, KK. Later, everybody. You take care too. See you, Gray. See you, Chris. You're welcome. Cheers, mate. See you, no. All right, guys. Bye-bye.